Oh, I don't know. I've been depressed the last couple of days. Need some cheering up. No, Dr. J, we're depressed. Stop being happy.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world
Stop being happy. That's what we're saying.
they tell us lies and
We're being depressed today.
fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, we kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away. Burn away, we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
What's Bert doing? Nick Shirley came out with a brand new video with all new claims about fraud. What if I told you there's not a single piece of evidence or substantiated claim in the entire video? In the entire fucking video. Gasp.
Hey, Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok.
Nick Shirley's an F slur. I'm bringing it back.
I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will
Just
Burr.
for that guy. I'm bringing it back.
Incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Chat, should we bring back the F slur just for Nick Shirley? Should we bring it back, label him that, and that's the only word that anybody's allowed to describe him with? Thank you guys for joining me. I'm Will Bird. That was Linda Binda. Thank you guys for joining us. Cold Beer Confessional. Another day in the mines. In here, putting in work. I watch the news. So you don't have to. Oh, sorry, I had my vape. So you don't have to. I watch the news, so you don't have to. What is the family trait of the, what's their name? Coltgens? Coltgens? What's the family's last name? You guys remember? I don't remember. What's their family trait? They're all going to say their answer on 3.
I'm going to ask a question. No one answer it. Answer it in your mind. Then I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and we're all going to answer it at the same time, okay? And then discuss. Are you ready?
Sure.
Again, I'm going to ask this question. Answer it in your mind only, not out loud. What do you think is the most prominent
cult gen? Like their generation is boomers, and they're in a cult. Cult gen.
Colchin family physical trait? Okay. Lock it away. Now I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and on 3, we all say what we think. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thick limbs.
Hairline. Forehead.
So, forehead, hairline, forehead, and he said something about gigantic limbs.
Hey, Mom, what did you say?
Receding forehead.
You all said forehead?
Yeah.
I said thick limbs.
It does stick out after they say forehead, and then you see the amount of real estate on the fucking video. You're like, God damn.
We do have thick limbs also. And like all of my children.
Yeah, there's a thickness to us.
All of my children have the thickness also.
No one else said forehead?
I'm pretty
They didn't get any thickness from the popes?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But it's not like, our thickness is a weird thickness. It's a thickness of the limbs. Like I have gigantic calves that don't look right on my body. I feel like.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's a thickness of the, like even
limb thickness.
Yes.
They're
but
like
I will say.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My sister worked at a restaurant. So there's this weird story about my family. Like my mom, both my sisters, and my current wife all worked at the same restaurant at one time. Okay. It's like a local restaurant. And it's just like a thing. Like usually when people are in high school or between jobs, a lot of females work as like a waitress here locally. That's really the only jobs around. It's like a quick job, make some cash, blah, 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 whatever. Anyways, they all worked at the same restaurant at one time. And after my mom had retired, just at this time, only my sister Stephanie was working at this restaurant, okay? And my mom is from a place called Martins Creek, okay? It's not like a town or nothing. It's like an area of a town, Okay, Martin's Creek. Everybody knows about Martin's Creek. And my sister was working in this restaurant, and she said that she was like chopping something up, so she had like a knife in her hand, and she was like chopping something up. And this other girl was standing there like telling a story to like my sister and some other girls. And she was talking about this lady that come into the restaurant and that had left. And she's like, you have, it was one of those women that has like a big hump on her back. You know how like when women get older, they like start to like bend over and they get like a hunchback or whatever. And the girl said it was, you know, it's like one of those women that get like, had like a hump on her back. And the girl said, what? And she said, oh, you know, like them women from Martin's Creek. And my sister, just out of reaction, was like, she had the knife in her hand, but she was like, my mama's from Martin's Creek. Don't you ever say that. And it was like my sister threatened her with a knife, and the girl like freaked out. I don't know. It's a funny story. But yes, girls, and it's like a family joke now. Whenever somebody says something, they'll be like, it reminds me of one time I was sitting at the kitchen. This is me, Mariah, and Liam, before Oliver was born. One time I was sitting at the kitchen table, and Liam was playing in the living room, and Mariah was in the kitchen with me, and I was at the table. And Liam was like playing in the living room, and like a big noise happened. Like boom, and Mariah was chopping something up. She was making dinner. And like a big boom happened. So I like turned real quick, and Mariah like fucking went running in there to see like if he fell or if he like busted his head or some shit. And she still had the knife in her hand. And she's like, Liam, what was that? And he was talking at the time. And he gets like all the way back up in the corner. And he's like, please don't stab me, mommy. It was pretty funny too. That's another inside family joke, I guess. We make fun of the women with the humps on their back from Martin's Creek. And Liam going, please don't stab me, mommy.
Like, especially as an adult woman, like it is, I think, easier for me to build and maintain muscle. Like, I think we have some kind of like a denser muscle mass than a lot of people.
Maybe.
We have big
because
calves
my weight,
from the
you
knee
know,
down.
like when I get on a scale,
We have big calves from the knees down.
everybody is shocked at a doctor's office, like with my weight, because I'm petite. I'm like 5'2", you know, and when I get on the scale, like they're like, oh, they didn't expect it. And I think I weigh like probably 15, 20 pounds more than people anticipate because I'm like dense.
Density.
I really believe that. Yeah.
Family density.
Their nanny.
I think the forehead nailed it. Look at all the forehead on this screen, bro. Like, that's why Mary Lou, or whatever the fuck her name is, wears the hat.
He was a high school.
And by the way, this woman used to be, before her husband and Trump ruined her, this woman used to be super, super fucking compassionate. Like, there's a news article about her talking about a local farm that like boards and keeps horses, and it was like a riding farm. And the local farm did this program where they took like at-risk teens and let them like work at the ranch and ride the horses. And I'm sure it was free because they were at-risk teens. And she's like super compassionate. She's like, oh yeah, these, you know, they don't have much in front of them, and this helps them get back on the right track and straighten people out. And a lot of these people don't have much. But now she's like a horrible, vindictive, like piece of shit when her husband's around.
Catcher, softball catcher, because of her legs.
I'm going to ask a question. No one answer.
Built like a softball catcher. All right, let's jump into this. I just want, listen, we're going to watch this video. I've already watched it. It's better that we watch it together and give him less views than we watch it individually, okay? So I am going to give him the views. But just listen. First of all, I want you to catch how many times this old dude, David or Charles or whatever his name is, how many times this motherfucker says something racist. Because literally, I just had it playing in the background, and I heard him get upset because people accused him of being like a racist or a white supremacist or a xenophobe or whatever. He says a bunch of different things. And then like 2 minutes later, he's talking about the district attorney or attorney general or somebody prosecuting a case. And he's like, but that guy's a Muslim. He'll find a way to fuck it up. Like, do you not understand what racist means? Like, judging somebody by their race negatively means racist. And after defending yourself, saying, I'm just a regular guy, I'm not a racist, you're like, that guy's a Muslim, he'll fuck this all up. It seems quite simple, but whatever. Anyways, we're looking for any evidence, any facts, any substantiated claims, not just a claim, but like that has some type of evidence or proof or something behind it. Not just this guy printed something off his computer. They can't figure out the difference between, again, capacity and like maximum capacity and actual head count. When we're asked about the numbers again, like how much money is going on, what are the numbers here? He even says how hard it is to find the actual numbers for these daycares and other centers, and that he somehow secretly got it from somebody that works at the state. So let's just watch it. It's bad. I'll go ahead and warn you. And Nick Shirley seems lost the whole time. For some reason, Nick Shirley wants to hammer him down on this claim that the Somalis that are receiving this income aren't paying taxes on it either. And even the old man won't go that far.
How bad is this fraud?
This is the worst fraud in human history.
How Somalians got into the system.
Again, this guy thinks it's the worst fraud in all of human history. Not the United States, not Minnesota, not the Midwest, not the 2000s. In human history, there has never been more fraud than there is right now, and he's uncovered all of it.
To defraud the American taxpayer.
They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how have you seen the weaponization of the word racist and Islamophobe take power here? Here in Minnesota, potentially the largest fraud to ever happen in America is happening right now, as billions of dollars has been laundered and funneled and given to Somali Ram.
Not only is he dumb, he's like fucking awkward. Like he's so fucking, like he has no people skills either. He's never drank. He's never smoked. He's never been laid. He has zero life experience, and he's trying to judge these complex life issues, right?
This is here inside of Minnesota.
I'm not making fun of him. That's his own admittance. Like when he went on Patrick Bet Davis, he said he's never done drugs. He's never drank. He's never smoked. He's never done it. He's a virgin, right? You're not going to find, he plays it like a positive. Like they're not going to get me with any sexual impropriety or whatever, but he's a virgin. Like he's never done anything. He hasn't lived a life without his mom within arm's reach. You know what I mean?
State. I'm here in Minneapolis right now, and I'm meeting with a man who's been doing his own research for years, as he's been speculating this fraud, as he's seen it blatantly inside of his neighborhoods and areas that he calls.
When I was young, this is really fucked up. I don't know if this happens to most people. When I was young, it was very hard for me to do sympathy and empathy, right? Like, it was very easy for me to say, like, well, my shit sucks. I grew up poor, so fuck those people. They can do it too. Or there's got to be scam, or they got to do this. And I've probably said some really fucked up shit about, like, people on food stamps or people on welfare, like really, really fucked up shit. The older I get, and the more I see people struggle, and a lot of times the struggle is not their own faults, right? They're just in a really shitty situation. They've been fucked over by the system again and again and again, or like kids suffering and shit. Like I have a soft spot now that I did not have when I was younger. 100%. I probably said some really horrible things about like people on the side of the road begging now. And in the last fucking, I don't know, 5-6 years, I've like stopped to give people money or tried to help people out or buy something, somebody something to eat. I've done more stuff for free in the last fucking probably 5 years of my life than I've ever, my entire life combined, to help somebody out. And I don't know if it's like age or if it's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Life experiences, just getting older. I don't know, but I feel different now than I did when I was younger.
Home. This is an interview with a man who has done everything.
So just know, if you find like Facebook posts of me from like 10 years ago, I probably said some really fucked up shit.
To expose the fraud, and now let's get into the interview. What's the need for $2.25 million for a daycare? $1 million. I know what about it. How come they said the building was closed?
Now time to leer. Get the joke? Because they misspelled learning.
$2.5 million for a daycare. $1 million. I know what about it. How come they said the building was closed?
The lead leerer. Now time to leer. Enjoy the interview.
There's a lot of fraud happening here in Minnesota. You've been living here for years now. How bad is this fraud?
I know I shared like really fucked up memes and shit. I haven't found any like fucked up posts because I would delete them if it's something I didn't believe now. But I have found like when Facebook does that, you've got memories to look back on, like some of the memes and shit I shared. I'm like, God damn, what the fuck was wrong with you?
I was born in Minneapolis a long time ago. I've lived my whole life here. And my opinion is that this is the worst fraud in human history, what is occurring in Minnesota and more specifically in the Twin Cities right now.
In human history. Worst fraud. Like, there is no other fraud worse than this. Even though we know that there's bigger fraud than this, right? And Trump is pardoning people who committed more fraud than this. Doesn't matter. This is it.
How much money do you think has been sent around fraudulently here inside Minnesota?
Over the years, I would say anywhere from $80 to $100 billion.
And right now, the big controversy is with Tim Walz and his government and the fraud.
Yeah, just the fucking PPP loans and how many people abuse that. But you know, this is kind of part of that. Not PPP, obviously, but this is, as a nation, we decided like, hey, shit is fucked up and it's not getting any better. And the people that decide things decided like, hey, we're going to err on the side of helping people survive the fucking pandemic rather than making sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed.
Within the Somalian community. Right behind us is Cedar Riverside, a location where it is very densely populated with Somalians. How have Somalians gotten into the system to fraud the American taxpayer?
Well, so that complex you're seeing behind there, I attended the University of Minnesota, and in the area we're on right now, this is the West Bank, and it was always called the West Bank, and it was sort of the place to be when you're in college, and that was all student housing, 100% of that building you see in the background. It's now 100% Somali. And I can tell you confidently, they don't pay for their housing, they don't pay for their food, they don't pay for their vehicles, and on top of that, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how are they sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota?
Well, one example would be with the hundreds of child care facilities that they have set up. And on every one that I visited, and I've been to maybe 100 of them or more, I never, ever have seen one child at any facilities ever over the past 7 years, 8 years.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycares. What are all of them?
So you have, well...
You know, like, okay. Listen to Nick Shirley ask a question here. Just listen. I'm going to slow it down to normal speed.
7 years, 8 years.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycare.
And tell me that's not like one for one with this. I know I showed this the other day, but I don't care. Like even the cadence and the way he speaks.
Autistic reporter Michael Falk joins us now.
I finished speaking with Brian Wasserman 26 minutes ago and have been standing here since then waiting for you to talk to me. Watch that interview now.
Again, watch Nick Shirley.
Any facilities ever over the past 7 years, 8 years.
What are the...
They should not have the camera on Nick while the other guy's talking. Because him like making weird facial expressions and looking around the room and trying to divide the number of drywall sheets by the number of fan blades or whatever the fuck his autistic mind is doing is not helping.
Seen one child
Look at him.
in any facilities ever.
He's counting how many patterns are on the carpet.
Past 7 years, 8 years.
Wonder how many squares are on David's shirt.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycares. What are all of them?
So...
All right, and then back to the...
Brian Wasserman.
Yes, and his inside source. Again, the only way that I've been able to find to get the CCAP money, child care assistance payments money that have went to daycares, like it's easy to get their max capacity, their license, are they in good standing, their inspection record, it's easy to get all that. But when we're talking about the money, which is the big thing, right? This one got $3 million and this one's got $4 million. The money is the big thing. The only way to get that is individual requests. And I've already sent in 4 fucking different requests, and all 4 of them's been denied. I don't know. It's not like a FOIA thing. I don't know if I'm filling it out wrong. I don't know if I'm requesting from the wrong people. I don't know it's incredibly hard to get the actual dollar amounts. But somehow this guy claims he just got it from someone who works at the Capitol. But anyways, back to the Nick Shirley here.
To live in a very big mansion. Now he lives in a tiny jail cell. Is living in prison different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
100%. These are the same guy.
Past 7 years, 8 years.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycares. What are all of them?
So
Brian Wasserman used to live in a very big mansion. Now he lives in a tiny jail cell. Is living in prison different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
They can't convince me that he isn't doing an impression of this guy. 100%. What are some of the frauds that they would do with the frauds? We got the daycare. What else are some of the other ones? David Schultz, or whatever the fuck his name is.
you have, you have child care, you have adult daycare, you have...
I have to speed it up because it triggers my fucking autism.
Straight health care, and nobody really knows how that's defined. And then you have transportation, non-emergency medical transportation. And if you do a search, you'll see that the state of Minnesota says they have 1,020 non-emergency medical transportation companies, and my research is showing that 95% of those are Somali-owned. And what I know is that the people writing the check to the state of Minnesota never, ever, ever verify that any trip was ever made or that any appointment was ever made with a dentist, chiropractor, or anything.
I'm almost positive this is not true. Every other state that I've looked into this program, we have it here locally. Not only do you have paperwork of like who you picked up, where they're going, blah, blah, blah. When they request the ride, because they get the ride for free, when they request the ride, they have to put in their name, their information, where they're going, the doctor's name, all that shit for the reimbursement to work. I very seriously doubt I could just sit in my van all day and make up names. Like bullshit. Bullshit. You're telling me there's zero verification whatsoever that any ride even took place. I don't believe it.
And so these people are able to start these businesses and then immediately get funds from the government?
Yeah, so interestingly that you bring up licensing, because another area of fraud that I exposed was all of these autism centers, because I would drive around the Twin Cities. I said, well, there's another autism center. I said, what's going on with all this autism? Is there something in the water? And then I started to look at, well, who owns these autism centers? And virtually 99% of them were owned by Somalis.
And is there an autism outbreak here in Minnesota right now?
There is not. But to open an autism center, you do not need a license.
Yeah, okay, I already found it. Okay, I already found it. So these companies have to sign up with services like SmartLink or Health Partners Ride Care, and then the state sets the rate for specific rate codes such as A0100, T2003, S0215. And the rate by mileage and the rate, so like if you pick up somebody with a wheelchair, it probably pays different than you pick up somebody fucking ambulatory, right? They can walk. And for what they're going for, like the urgency of the call, right? Are they going to, just a checkup? Or are they going because they got to get lab work done 2 cities over? Pay different rates that is verified not only through the provider, but also back through the state. So there's multiple ways that you have to document these rides. It says you have to confirm your eligibility, check with the Minnesota Department of Human Services, DHS, or your health plan to see if you're covered. Contact your broker. Reach out to your county's designated NMNT broker, which will be like a company like SmartLink, or what was the other one? Minnesota Medical Assistance. Or your health care's plan, like Ride Care, who can schedule this for you. You have to book in advance, reserve trips and the mileage you need well before your appointment. It's paid through private insurance, out-of-pocket, and state reimbursement. There's no way that they're just like, okay, I took Tim Jones 300 miles today, pay me 70 cents a mile. Bullshit.
So people are claiming their children are autistic to receive money from the government.
Yes.
And the government, underneath Tim Walz's leadership, they're not going in, investigating, and doing their due diligence to say, maybe we shouldn't give this company $1 million.
By the way, they have no evidence of this. He just says, I know by talking to people at the state that the state doesn't check any of this. No fucking way, dude. Because if this was true, it would be way, way, way more abused. everybody would be sitting at their house every goddamn day saying, okay, 70 miles, okay, 36 miles, and just making up fucking names. No goddamn way.
Well, so what's happening is there have been some sporadic inspections done at these facilities, and I have records of some of these inspections. And one inspection, they'll get 11 violations. A child care facility with 11 violations, that is bad. I mean, unsanitary conditions, broken furniture, no play area for the children. And so they write these.
By the way, this is not bad. Again, we've talked about this. We want violations. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but listen to me. We want violations at daycare centers. And we want those violations fixed. We know no place can be perfect. Especially a place that's got kids running around all the time breaking shit. Okay? We want the violations and then documentation that it's been fixed. Whether that's a picture or they write a statement, a sworn statement, whatever, and the inspector comes back. The reason being is if we don't see violations, we know that nobody's perfect. So when we don't see violations, we're left to wonder, is the inspector not doing their job? Are they fucking lying just to get a good score? Is the daycare paying them off? But when we see a record of violations, like, of course, we don't want a kid fell down a well, right? But when we see a broken toy or access was blocked at one point, blah, blah, whatever. And then we see these remedies, steps taken to remedy that situation. We know that everybody's doing their fucking job. You don't want to go to a daycare, send your kid to a daycare that's never had a fucking violation and will never get one. Because either they're fucking perfect, which nobody is, or somebody's not doing their fucking job, and you wouldn't know if there was a violation.
Things in their report, but then they never follow up to make sure. They never physically revisit the site to make sure that any of those violations were corrected. What they accept is documentation from the center that they made the corrections.
So at the end of the day, they're able to violate certain guidelines, yet they still receive money somehow. How is there not somebody inside the state who's saying, okay, we're seeing this fraud happen, let's maybe not just continue to give money to these people?
So you've probably heard the term Minnesota Nice before, which back in the old times, in the old days, it meant something.
So he asked, how are people getting away with this fraud? And he says, oh, you heard the term Minnesota nice? People are just nice and they just let other people commit fraud. And they're scared to say anything because they'll be called a racist.
Now it's actually a curse upon us because the people here.
By the way, some of this is paid, some of the medical transportation stuff is paid for by insurance. Are medical insurance companies known to be extremely generous, not do their due diligence, and just hand out money willy-nilly for all the fucking services that they have to provide to the people who have their insurance? I saw a video the other day that was a medical insurance company denying a wheelchair to a man with no legs. Do you think that medical insurance is signing off on transportation services that didn't fucking happen? They wouldn't even sign off on the ones that did fucking happen.
The majority of the people, they're afraid of their own shadows. I'm an outcast because I'm exposing this fraud. I'm telling the truth. My family has basically disowned me because of all of this fraud that I've uncovered, and I've been called a racist.
Family disowned him makes sense. Right here it is. He's been called a racist. He's none of these things.
I'm telling the truth. My family has basically disowned me because of all of this fraud that I've uncovered, and I've been called a racist, an Islamophobe, a white supremacist, Nazi, all these things.
Now remember, he's none of those things. But just keep listening to how he talks about people.
I said, look, everything that I talk about is verified. I have it in writing. I've gone to politicians. I've gone to Washington, D.C. over the years. I said, look, this fraud is out of control. This is approaching $100 billion. And now you see the U.S. attorney, they started with the Feeding Our Future, $250 million. I said, no, that's amateur hour. Then they said it's $1 billion. Now, just today, the U.S. attorney held a press conference and said the fraud is possibly as much as $18 billion.
Yeah. Hey, listen to this. I'm going to say it right now. The fraud is as much as could be up to and including the top amount of $1 gazillion. Did you guys hear that? I said it. $1 gazillion. I'm going to say it. Could be up to, not limited to, $1 gazillion. Who gives a fuck? Well, it could be $1 billion, but it isn't.
but we don't really know what period of time, and I'm telling you, it's way more than that. You have transportation, autism, childcare, daycare, healthcare, and nobody knows what's healthcare because they're not healthcare providers. So what is the healthcare? They have in-home healthcare.
And so what's the need, for example, for...
By the way, the only evidence that he claims he has, really, is stuff that people gave him at the Capitol that nobody else can get. And the fact that a bunch of Somalis have a bunch of fucking jobs. But when they complain about immigrants, they don't work. Remember, they're the immigrants that are stealing all our fucking jobs, but are also completely lazy, worthless, don't want to work. They hate our country, and they just sit around and collect welfare checks. So which is it? Do they own 99% of all medical transport businesses and fucking 90% of the daycares? Or are they lazy and useless and just sit around and complain and collect a check? It can't be both.
1,200 transportation companies inside of Minnesota. What's the need for that many transportation?
Well, there isn't. There isn't. You're talking about getting a ride. You already have services that are provided. You have Metro Mobility that offers free rides to seniors and low-income people. And so to have that many non-emergency medical transportation companies, it's not possible that they can transport that.
Yes, it is. I don't think you understand how many people need transportation.
Many people. I have been to many of these transportation companies, and I've been time-stamping my photographs for a whole year at one facility in Minneapolis, and those vans in that parking lot have not moved 1 inch in an entire year. They're all still sitting there.
And so, wait till you see this guy's evidence. Wait till you see documented, time-stamped pictures from a year of going to the same place 5 times a day. They don't show it. I have documented time-stamped photographs of one business in Minneapolis driving so much doing medical transportation jobs that they have to buy new tires every 3 days.
One facility in Minneapolis, and those vans in that parking lot have not moved 1 inch in an entire year. They're all still sitting there.
And so when you think about it, you have, with the transportation companies, you have the adult care centers. So are they working hand in hand together to then say, we're getting the services from them, the adult daycare centers, to then transport them to their appointments?
So my feeling is this transportation deal is kind of the belly of the beast, because you also have these charter schools, and there's a school in North Minneapolis called Bonadier Academy. It's a K through 12 school. So that's K through 12. So that's 13 years. 13 classes, right? And they say they have 150 students. I found data that they have 136. So that's 10 people per class. How is that possible? And they're getting somewhere around $20 to $30 million a year for what?
So
again, the numbers that you come up with are just you making up numbers. Somebody at the state gave me this number. Nobody else can find it anywhere.
And 30 students, they're receiving around $20 million.
Or more, yes.
A lot of these schools are.
Or more. Fuck. Or more. Who knows?
There's like exuberant amount of numbers as to how much they're actually enabling to happen here. And we went to a fraud committee, and you saw the people. I even confronted one of the ladies myself, and she started to blame the fraud and deflecting it upon how there's fraud everywhere. And she didn't.
What she said was, I'm sure there is fraud. Every system has some amount of fraud in it. All true. But the one person that claims she has evidence of fraud will not give that evidence to the other person who could stop the payments. The one person who shows up at every meeting and screams and yells and shouts about fraud claims they have evidence, proof of the fraud. They refuse to take that proof and give it to person 2, who is saying, show me the proof and I'll stop the payments, please.
Didn't take any accountability, she didn't take responsibility. In fact, she blamed Trump for the fraud that's been happening here inside Minnesota.
Right. So Kristen Robbins is the chairwoman of the fraud committee, and she was attacked by that Democrat member you were just talking about for not telling that committee.
You can't be this retarded. Find any single clip of me in any way, shape, or form at any time over the last 10 goddamn years I've been on the internet that is me saying, don't investigate daycare centers. We just had a 5-minute segment about why we want good people going to daycares and why we should want to see violations. Do I think a YouTuber, an old man, and 2 armed mass security guards should be beating on daycare centers' doors saying, show me the kids? No.
About all this fraud. Well, the law says in Minnesota that if you are an elected or public official and you are aware of fraud or suspected fraud, it's Minnesota Statute 3.971, subdivision.
The federal government, since his video came out, has went to every daycare featured on his videos. Every daycare featured. And how much fraud did they find at these daycares? They went to all 7 or whatever he talks about in his YouTube video. 0. 0 fraud. The first place the federal government went when they went to Minnesota, when they went to Minneapolis, the first place they went are the daycares that were featured in Nick Shirley's video, and they found 0 fraud. None. 0. None. Out. 0. Probably retarded, if I had to guess. If I was a betting man, I would go with retarded.
Report that fraud or suspected fraud immediately to the Office of the Legislative Auditor, the OLA, and then the...
I just found Mandy. Why are you so into watching grown men fuck goats? Seems kind of fucked up to the goats too, doesn't it? Oh, that's not a claim you've ever made? That's not something you've ever said? That's not something you support? Weird how I just made that up and yelled it at you as soon as we met. It is weird that you're into watching men fuck goats, though.
OLA decides which law enforcement agency to refer the complaint to.
And they failed to do that.
No, Kristen Robbins did that. She said, I reported it to the OLA, and the Democrat, she had no idea how things work in Minnesota. She was just so enraged about...
Send us the evidence, we'll stop payment. Send us the evidence, we'll stop payment. Nope. Can't do it. I've got to protect my whistleblowers. Send it without their name.
All this fraud getting exposed.
Because they don't want to take accountability because...
Yeah, I did exactly what you did when you showed up in my chat. You sick fuck, Mandy. You're a sick fuck.
Fraud is so blatant. You can go to any of these daycare centers. There are no children anywhere.
Last Saturday, I was in front of the governor's mansion, and I was attacked by 3 Somali men.
Random claim with no evidence incoming.
It's on camera. I made a 911 call. Nobody came to help me.
3 random, also Somali men attacked him at the governor's mansion.
The week before that, I fought off a knife attack.
The week before that, hand-to-hand combat while somebody was trying to stab him with a knife. How did you fight off a knife attack, elderly gentlemen? Multiple people attacked you, one with a knife, and you fought them off somehow? How did that happen? Senior citizen. Not a scrape, not a cut, not an emergency room visit, nothing.
And these people are very violent, and people are afraid of them. The police are even afraid of them. And the police chief is out there telling the public, if you see an ICE agent, call 911. I mean, it's insanity. It's just pure evil. I mean, it's... Now they're telling the public, if you see an ICE agent, call 911. I mean, it's insanity. It's just pure evil. I mean, it's...
Now it's directly talking...
It's pure evil that to tell people that if you see ICE, call 911. Honestly, with as many people that are impersonating ICE, that's probably good of ICE. If you see somebody claiming to be ICE, call 911. Make sure they actually are ICE, first of all.
About the Somali population, because, for instance, you get attacked by 3 Somalians.
I just saw a video the other day of somebody, the First Amendment auditor YouTubers. There was a couple of them just driving around. They weren't even recording. They were just driving around in their town and saw this guy like searching this black guy's truck. And they're like, that looks weird. They get out and stop. And it isn't even a fucking cop. He claims he's federal. He claims he's a federal cop. He's searching this guy's truck, trying to throw him out of it. The guy's complying with him because he thinks he's a cop. He leaves and gets to like the passenger side of a fucking Accord. Guy ends up getting arrested. Hold on. Let's see if I can find the video. Hold on. There's like a ton of people pretending to be federal agents, ICE agents, cops, whatever. I just watched it the other day. I might be able to find it in my history. It'll take a second, though.
The police don't come. They're told to call police if they see ICE. How come Somalians have been able to get such a strong foothold here inside of Minnesota, specifically here in Minneapolis?
The reason is that the Somali...
Wait, they blame it on Ilhan Omar as well. We'll get to that. He blames it on Ilhan Omar for being the, what's he called? The godmother of Somalis.
The community is a closed community. What I mean by that is they do not talk to outsiders.
There is fraud. Every system has fraud in it. There may be more than the average amount of fraud in this system. The way you identify that is not random people knocking on daycare doors and demanding to see other people's kids.
And they are ruled with an iron fist by the Somali mafia. And one of those guys is the guy who just got convicted of $7.2 million of fraud, a unanimous jury verdict, and Judge Sarah West overturned the verdict. I couldn't believe it. That was my discovery of all that fraud. I'm the one who got that guy brought before the jury, and then they find him guilty, and they let him go. And now you have Keith Ellison, who says he's going to appeal the verdict. Well, he's a Muslim. He's going to find a way to screw it up.
So
this super not racist guy that's never been a racist ever, and people that call him racist just don't want to address his claims. Says, oh, this guy says he's going to prosecute this guy for fraud, but he's a Muslim. He'll find a way to screw it up. Remember how super not racist he is?
Sarah West overturned the verdict. I couldn't believe it. That was my discovery of all that fraud. I'm the one who got that guy brought before the jury, and then they find him guilty, and they let him go. And now you have Keith Ellison, who says he's going to appeal the verdict. Well, he's a Muslim. He's going to find a way to screw it up.
So even if they are...
He's a Muslim. He's going to find a way to screw it up. So we'll see his real problem with just Muslims in general in a second, right? They're all here. They're to lie. They're trying to get a worldwide caliphate going. But he thinks that anybody at any position of power now, if they're Muslim, then they're all working together to put this all together to help each other.
Committed for fraud. That guy, he's committed for how much?
7.2 is what the unanimous jury verdict, 7.2 million.
And then they just went ahead and released him.
The judge overturned the verdict. He's walking free as we speak, still collecting money from the state. And it's federal money too. So we need the feds to come in here because this is not all state money. There's federal money that's involved here, and it's way beyond anybody's imagination, the total amount. The state doesn't even know. The feds don't even know.
And so, for instance, why would that judge bow down to the head of the Somali mafia here?
What I can tell you is that it's a voting bloc, and what they say is if you do something to go against our community, we're going to vote for, and they all vote together, and there's ballot harvesting, I've seen them do it, that we're going to vote for your opponent unless you do what we tell you to do.
And so it's all purely for vote.
Now it's ballot harvesting, now it's fake elections, and we'll elect somebody else unless you do what we want. We're the Muslims.
Yes.
And so this building right here, Cedar Riverside, major, massive apartment complex. How many Somalians do you think live in there, for instance?
Well, this is just one complex. You've got 20 more just like this around the Twin Cities, and they're all Somali. You're talking probably 100,000 or more people, and they're all living rent-free. They're driving a vehicle that you paid for. They're eating food that you paid for. Everything they do is something you paid for.
And for instance, that entire block will then go and vote for one specific candidate.
They'll have one person go there and collect all the ballots, and nobody tracks. They could say they have 9 people living in an apartment. They're going to send them 9 ballots. and then they have someone who comes along, collects all the ballots, and they fill them out, and then they deliver them all to the.
This is not true, right? In every state in the fucking United States, when you register to vote, you have to prove who you are. Just because some states don't require you to show ID the day you cast your ballot, you have to register. Or you do a provisional ballot, which gets thrown out later.
Ballot box or wherever they deliver them all at once. There's no verification. Nobody's doing anything to know if these people are even citizens that are voting.
And how well have they integrated into society here?
Not at all. It's either you do things their way or you're a racist or an Islamophobe and you will be attacked. My life's been threatened many times. I've had people tell me, just stop doing what you're doing. They're gonna take you out. And I can't do it because everybody says somebody ought to do something about that. I'm that somebody. I'm the guy who's doing something about it.
And what led you to want to do this, where you're so passionate about it, where you've done your own investigation? If you were working for the government, you'd be called a whistleblower. Thankfully, you're a whistleblower in your own way as far as you're coming out with the information, with the numbers. When we went to all the daycare centers, you had the numbers specifically as to how much money these people have been receiving at these daycares.
He's the only person who has that numbers. Nobody can verify this. No one has been able to verify that his numbers were good.
There wasn't a single daycare inside of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area that wasn't receiving at least $1 million.
Yeah, so we hit 3 of the top, and so when you're talking about money going to the daycare, we were looking just specifically at CCAP money, which is Child Care Assistance Payments. And the one daycare we went to on Chicago Avenue that said they had 102 children, they got $3.6 million in fiscal year 2025. And in 2024, they got $2.8 million. And how many kids did we see there? 0. In fact, we didn't see...
It's not up to you to decide how many fucking kids are there, bro.
A single child at any of the child care facilities, and that's the way they all are every single day.
And I want to keep going in about how Somalia has gained such a strong...
The state and the federal government have both went to those exact fucking daycares and found the kids there.
Stronghold of this area of Minnesota. They're building mosque block to block in St. Cloud. That's just about an hour away from Minneapolis. And here in Minneapolis and St. Paul and the Twin Cities, you have entire apartment complexes where there are not a single white Caucasian living inside.
Right.
And then you also have, I've heard in Rochester, it's pretty bad as well. But how did they come in and then expand to the point where they kicked out everybody from a college area to where the point where they have now the apartment complex? How have they expanded so much here inside of Twin Cities areas?
It's because they all stick together. They all sing the racist Islamophobe mantra over and over and over. They'll lie, they'll say you assaulted them, they'll do all these things until eventually they force people out. Right up the road from us is Palmer's Bar. It opened in 1906.
This right here is an absolute lie, okay? We've already covered Palmer's Bar because there's a MAGA lady on Facebook who tried to say that it was becoming a mosque. All right, so Palmer's Bar is a bar that's been around forever. It's in Minnesota. It was like a staple, and a lot of people are sad to see it go, which is true. That's all true. What happened was they never, after COVID happened, they never fully recovered to where they were profitable again. So they tried for years to sell the bar to any other person who wanted to operate it as a bar. They had 0 offers. 0 offers. The only offer they had was an offer from a mosque that is across the street that wanted to open a community center. They're not turning it into a mosque. They didn't run them out of business. They didn't get them shut down. They didn't complain until the government come in and took the place over or whatever the fuck he's going to claim. They tried to sell it for almost 2 years. They got 0 offers. They weren't profitable, so they're not going to keep running and losing money. The only offer they had to buy the location was from a mosque, and they're going to make a community community learning and STEM center there.
I used to go there because you could drink when you were underage, and I went to the U of M, so hey, you could have a beer. And that place was legendary, and what happened was the residents who live in that building right behind us filed so many false reports against patrons of that bar and the bar itself that the city went to the owners of Palmer's Bar and said, look, you either shut down voluntarily or we're going to drag you through and we're going to make you spend a lot of money and we're still going to shut you down. So that bar has been shut down, and now they're going to turn it into what? Another mosque.
So they push out what used to be Minnesota staples such as Palmer's Bar, and now that bar is turning into a mosque.
There's a mansion over on 24th and Park Avenue, a historic building. They bought that. They're turning that into a mosque.
By the way, you guys want to know why the judge overturned the Yusuf conviction for the $7 million in fraud or whatever? She puts it in her documents. It says, while there was a significant amount of investigation work put into the case against Mr. Yusuf, there was not enough from which to infer that Mr. Yusuf's guilt. West asserted, finding that withdrawals signed by him were just purported to be signed by him, when in fact, it was his brother who fled the country already. While the court is troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at this company, the company his brother owned, while the court is troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at this company, so she's claiming that fraud did happen in this company, the state's evidence did not exclude other reasonable rational inferences that are consistent with what Mr. Yusuf's testimony, what he said. West reasoned that while Yusuf owned the organization, it was his brother who was committing the fraud. The state overinflates the actual fraud in their investigation and presentation, and it failed to provide actual circumstantial evidence tying Mr. Yusuf to his brother's fraudulent activities. And the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction from the 6 counts of aiding and abetting theft by swindle. West also noted that while the court is concerned that this man may have been more involved than the evidence presented makes it appear, ultimately she found that she had no other option than to grant defense's motion due to the reasonable inference inconsistent with guilt that comes from the case presented. So they couldn't get his brother, so they tried to pin it all on him. Could he have been involved in this fraud? Absolutely he could have been. Did they prove that? Not according to the judge.
That the city went to the owners of Palmer's Bar and said, look, you either shut down voluntarily or we're going to...
This is not true.
Filed so many...
All this is not true. Palmer's shut down of their own volition. They weren't making money. They couldn't sell the place. They got an offer. They sold the building.
False reports against patrons of that bar and the bar itself.
There was no false reports. That didn't happen.
That the city went to the owners of Palmer's Bar and said, look, you...
And I almost guarantee he saw that dumb bitch's video that we talked about, that she just come on Facebook and lied about it.
They're shut down voluntarily or we're going to drag you through and we're going to...
Hold on. We can probably find it. Let's see. That's not it. It's a very Karen-looking lady, but that was the same story, but I was looking for the original one. There is a post about it. Oh, there's the woman.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm standing
this Karen bitch
outside a bar.
Minnesota.
This bar opened in 1906, Palmer's Bar. But this bar,
I'm sure a lot of people are sad to see it go. Right? It's been there. It's a staple. But there was ample opportunity for anybody to buy the bar and the name. They were selling the brands, right? The Palmer's Bar, been in operation for over 100 years. Blah, blah. They were selling all that. Anybody could have bought it and opened it. They didn't. Obviously, they're not making a lot of money there anymore. Because if it was a good investment, someone would have bought it. Someone would have bought it and someone would have ran it. The only offer they had was from the mosque next door. And they were happy to take that offer.
Now is home to a new mosque here in Minnesota, as this is a Somalian community. They complained about this bar, and it was just too loud to be in their community.
Oh. She just made all that up. There's no proof of that at all.
Oh my God.
The Minnesota bowed down to the Somalians and are turning this bar into a mosque. People who are not Americans don't assimilate.
Yeah, why do we cater to them? Fuck them.
These cities to become just like their cities in Africa.
I like how they're like, we don't like the noise. We don't f***ing care what you like and don't like. I don't like.
Can you just show any shred of evidence that it was noise complaints that put them out of business from Muslims?
Muslim call to prayer 4 times a day. You come here and you don't like it, so go the fuck back to where you came from. First of all, a Muslim to be like, you built any part of this country. Babe, yours isn't built. Ours is built, okay? So you're not taking credit for any of this. You're good at the demolition and blowing shit up. We're good at building. Very different things.
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm standing outside a bar.
Minnesota.
Here's Palmer's own Facebook post. Due to the current economic environment, people's changing drinking habits, and the challenges of losing so many other bars and businesses in the neighborhood, Palmer's has been losing between $10,000 to $30,000 a month, and the situation is no longer sustainable to stay open. The owners revealed that a failed business partnership in 2022 left the bar in financial distress. Despite cutting costs and adjusting prices, Palmer's was losing up to $30,000 a month and could no longer stay afloat. They didn't say noise complaints. They didn't say the Muslims. They didn't say we've been run off. They didn't say the state shut us down. None of these claims are true.
Opened in 1906 Palmer's Bar, but this bar now is home to a new mosque here in Minnesota, as this is a Somalian community. They complained about this bar, and it was just too loud to be in their community.
Oh my God.
The Minnesota bowed down to the Somalians and are turning this bar into a mosque. People who are not Americans don't assimilate.
Yeah, why do we cater to them? Fuck them.
These cities to become.
Everybody just keeps spreading this same fucking lie as if it's the truth with no evidence. Show me one noise complaint. You can't. They don't exist.
Make you spend a lot of money and we're still going to shut you down. So that bar has been shut down and now they're going to turn it into what? Another mosque.
So they push out what used to be Minnesota staples such as Palmer's Bar, and now that bar is turning into a mosque.
There's a mansion over on 24th and Park Avenue, a historic building.
Here we go. Listen. This is from Palmer's own Facebook page. We cut expenses as much as possible and adjusted prices where we could, and it just wasn't enough to climb out of the hole we were falling into. The idea of a worker-owned collective was considered, and it is a good idea, but burdening the current staff with this magnitude of loss is not fair to them. We had run out of options and decided to start work with an experienced commercial real estate broker last year to find a suitable buyer for Palmer's and the Palmer's brand. She approached many people in the bar and venue industry, and the response from all of them was a unanimous hard pass. As we reached the end of our resources and still needed to sell, she expanded the scope of her search for a buyer, and we finally accepted the one and only offer we received from the next door neighbors for a community space. They don't say the Muslims did it. They don't say it was noise complaints. They don't say anything. People aren't drinking as much. People aren't going to bars. People aren't doing this. They've been losing $20,000 to $30,000 a month for how long? They started to fall off in 2022 and never recovered. I don't understand why they keep spreading this rumor, other than they got a narrative.
They bought that. They're turning that into a mosque. They're building another brand new mosque not far away. And it's like when you're in a dream and there's something really bad happening to you and you're screaming and all these people are walking by and nobody hears you. That's what I live every day. That's my life every day. But I'm committed to doing what I can to end this. I just want it to stop.
And how have you seen the weaponization of the word racist and Islamophobe take power here?
It's incredibly powerful, and all I can describe it as evil. It is an evil that has taken hold here, and it's permeated all of our society. And the people in Minnesota, they just want to stick their head in the sand and pretend it doesn't. Somebody will do something about it. They don't have to do anything, or it's not going to affect them. And they don't. In their mind, they want to redecorate the upstairs bedroom when there's a massive crack in the foundation that's allowing all this water and dirt and everything to get in there, and they're worried about the upstairs bedroom. It's insanity.
And real quick break from the interview to tell you guys about the spot.
Especially when everybody's just lying about what's going on in their community. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard to get any good information out.
Of this video clip is in format mic. You'll get
fuck you and your ad.
First started to know
back into the interview. And did you ever think this would happen to your town?
Never.
And when did it start to happen?
I first started to notice the tenets of this going back more than 20 years ago. And I started to say, what?
Did he just fucking shove his face in front of the camera while the interview was going on?
What's going on? I first started to notice the tenets of this going back more than 20 years ago. And I started to say, what's going on here? And then I found out how a lot of these Somalis were getting to Minnesota. And let me tell you, they weren't going through customs like you have to. They weren't. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so now the claim is, with no evidence whatsoever, that Somalis don't go through customs when they enter the United States, like me or you would.
And then where did the bus bring them? Right there to Cedar Riverside. That was the hub of Somali, their foothold in Minneapolis. And then Omar Jamal stood in a corner in downtown Minneapolis, got to be 15, 20 years ago, and he said, we're planting our flag right here. This is going to be Somali World Headquarters outside of Somalia, Minneapolis. And don't you know, the state flag of Minnesota was...
I'm literally on Palmer's Facebook post, and there's not a single fucking thing about Muslims mentioned, even in the comments. I figured somebody'd be like, fucking Muslims did it. Nope. Not happening. It's just not fucking there.
This beautiful historic flag to the flag that is almost exactly the same as the flag of Somalia.
Well, Tim Walt said your old flag was racist.
Yeah, it was a farmer with a plow horse. That's racist. Why, because it's somebody working? That's racism.
Tim Walt is an interesting man. He's enabled a lot of this fraud to happen underneath him. Was the fraud happening before Tim Walt as well?
Well, likely yes, it was, because he's going for his third term as governor. So Tim Walz is from Nebraska. He was a teacher. He lied about getting a Nebraska Chamber of Commerce award. He lied about his military service. Everybody knows. And he's scared to death now that this fraud has been exposed, and he's scrambling. And he has a press conference on gun control. I go, what are you, gun control? You got $100 billion of fraud. You're going to talk about people not walking around with machine guns? I mean, what is this, the 1920s?
And inside these apartment complexes, not just Cedar Riverside, how do they...
So the reason for the racist claim about the Minnesota flag is it did have a guy plowing a field. And in the back, it had a Native American riding off on the horse. And it was almost like bragging, like we took this from you. Like it was a symbolization of the displacement of Native Americans, like riding off in the horse, and now this guy's plowing the land. There's a lot of people that would interpret that as like, that's kind of racist undertones. Tim Walz didn't design the flag, didn't pick the flag. It's not a Somali flag. Elon Musk said that he replaced the Minnesota flag with a Somali flag. That's not true. Some weird kid designed it after they took sample after sample, or submission after submission after submission. There was a board that voted. They took public comment. They voted again. They went from all these submissions down to 10, down to 5, down to 3, and then they finally picked one. That was it.
Forced, because this one right here, you only see Somalians. How do they force any other race, white, Asian, black, Mexican? How do they make it so that these apartment complexes are only their apartment complexes?
So there are a couple of ways they do it. One is to incessantly harass any non-Somali tenant so that they...
You got any evidence of this? Like everybody's got a camera in their fucking pocket right now. Anybody moving in and just being like, my neighbors have harassed me for the last 2 months. I got to move. It's because I'm not Muslim. I'm not Somali. I can't live here. Any evidence at all? A video. No? Just this guy claiming it happens. Like, I can't believe people are just accepting. It's because, why did the people accept this? I've seen it all over Facebook. Because they want it to be true. They don't accept. This is the crowd that won't take a goddamn board of doctors recommendation. This guy they've never seen before, and a YouTuber they've seen a few times says it. Boom. Did you see what's going on? Did you see all the Somalis taking over the apartment complexes, running all the daycares? I'm going to open a daycare and be a millionaire. Ha, ha, ha. They want to believe it.
They have to move out, or they file false complaints, multiple complaints against someone until they're evicted. The city will come in if it's a city-owned building, if it's income housing, and they'll evict that person, and then the Somali moves in. And that's how they've been doing it all around the Twin Cities. Folks, I'm just telling you, as bad as you think it is, it's 10 times worse. You'll never see anything like this. If you went to any country around the world, you'll never see anything as bad as it is right here in Minneapolis.
So, for instance, say I were to move inside and got myself
any country in the world. If you went to any country in the world, no country is worse than Minneapolis, Minna-fucking-soda. This isn't hyperbole, right? This isn't a joke. There is no country in the world worse than Minneapolis. None.
An apartment over in Cedar Riverside, and I started listening to music a little too loud or watching a movie too late at night. And
why is the Minnesota flag like the Somali flag? Well, they both have stars, but I think almost every submission that the board got had a star included, right? And they both use shades of blue. Not the same shade of blue, not the same star, but stars and blue. So by that, the United States flag is a Somali flag.
And somebody next door had a baby, and they said that was just too much a noise complaint. Would they call you a racist, or how would they get you out of the apartment?
Yeah, they would say you harassed them, you threatened them, you assaulted them. It's something that their mindset is that they don't care as long as they can get their way. They don't care what happens to anybody else who's not a Somali. And they have warring factions within the Somali community because this is such a cash grab that they're...
Yes, it's an 8-pointed star, the North Star. The blue is they're the land of 10,000 lakes, right? And then they're the North Star state. So the 8-pointed star is the North Star.
There are factions within the Somali community that are fighting amongst each other.
So do you think right now in Somalia, people know if they make their way to Minnesota, they'll be able to get $1 million?
Absolutely. Everyone knows.
Okay. So every Somali knows if you come to Minnesota, you'll get $1 million. Is there any evidence of it? Again, that's my only question. They haven't shown a shred of evidence about any claim they've made. But MAGA wants to believe it. You're telling me brown people are being bad again? I knew it. Wait till you see what they exposed on YouTube.
It's wide open. It's the Wild West.
Because I say $1 million because every place we went to and where we have gone, everything is above $1 million. Like, it's not just like a $500,000. It's not just what would be a great salary of $60,000 to $100,000 for a single person. It's literally millions of dollars. It's not a joke when you say that these people are becoming millionaires just from getting money from the government. So
think about it. You get up and you go to work every day and you make $50,000, $60,000 and you work like crazy. Some of you work two jobs, 3 jobs. They're not working at all. And they're getting new free cars, free housing, free food, everything. It's completely out of control here.
That's the way it is with like Mexicans and stuff here. They shut their mouths. They work fucking multiple jobs. Everybody in the goddamn house is working, and they're doubled up, tripled up in houses.
We need the federal government to come in here and put a stop to this because the political will in Minnesota is not here to do it.
And because that money that they receive what are they? Are they grants? Are they relief? What are the money that they get? What do they label that as?
Well, so
you're about to see how this guy has no fucking skills to talk to another human. He's going to try to get this old man to say that the money's tax-free about 100 different goddamn ways.
To do it.
And because that money that they receive what are they? Are they grants? Are they relief? What are the money that they get? What do they label that as?
Well, so interesting you brought up grants because that's a whole nother, so they have a thing called Minnesota Deeds, DEEDS grants. And I looked at the list of grants that were just issued this year, and they're about 75% Somali owned. So
you're just judging off the name. You think they're Somali.
Those are more money they're just giving them, and they're not even tracking what's being done with the money. They fill out a form saying we're going to use it for this. Nobody follows up. So you've got child care, you've got transportation.
Not true.
What are those? What's that money labeled underneath as? When it says, for instance, when $1 million is sent to a child care, is that money labeled as what would it be?
Well, it's a number of things. It's CCAP, which is child care assistance payments, it's SNAP benefits, it's learning. So they separate it as learning. So we're learning. So we're not just a child care. We're teaching them something. So there are all these separate payments that are going in. So there's no one label because it's coming in from all these for all these different things.
I just looked them up. It's 99.9% Somali. Really?
It's all coming from the Department of Human Services.
And so they're presented to companies. How do you know by the company name that they're Somalian?
That money, say they get the $1 million into the daycare, will they have to pay taxes on that $1 million?
Here we go.
Tax-free money.
Well, so what's funny is that KSTP just came out and published a story that said Somalis are the economic engine that's driving Minnesota, that they paid $76 million or something in taxes. I just laughed. I said, they're an economic benefit to Minnesota. But that's what I'm fighting every day as a media that is completely on the Somali side. And I don't understand why people have this mindset. It's evil.
That's already the second time he asked him about taxes. That's two.
We're trying to fix our state, and you look at the long game on this. You say, well, what is the end result of this? The end result of this is that this becomes Somalia.
I mean, they already planted their flag here. Essentially,
they literally planted their flag at the Capitol. It's a flag of Somalia, literally.
But
literally, it's literally the flag of Somalia. Literally, it's literally the flag of Somalia. It's not, but it literally is.
They pay taxes on that money they receive from the government when they get sent to their daycare, when they get sent to their adult daycare, when they get sent to their transportation companies.
They're paying a different
third time asking about taxes
rate, if they're paying any at all.
So with zero evidence, again, I can't be more clear. He says, he finally asked him directly, are they paying taxes on this money? They're paying a different rate if they're paying at all. Are you just guessing? They're paying a different rate, if at all. They have a different rate by ethnicity, or
when they get sent to their daycare, when they get sent to their adult daycare, when they get sent to their transportation companies.
They're paying a different rate if they're paying any at all, and a lot of it is being redirected. So there's stories that they're funding Al-Shabaab, and so this money.
It doesn't matter. Oh my God! If they get paid money, they have to pay tax. If it's income, they have to pay taxes on it.
Typically doesn't go directly back to Somalia. The money they send back, they'll send it through Saudi Arabia, they'll send it through Kenya, because then it's not a direct link from the Somalis here back to Somalia. So
our government's so fucking dumb. They don't realize that if you send your money to Saudi Arabia first, that it's going to Somalia. They could never figure that out, ever.
Routing it through a third party.
So that's a whole different thing about them funding Al-Shabaab and terrorist organizations. But I want to get to my point. Is that money that they are getting from the government, will they eventually pay tax on that, or is that just tax-free?
Fifth time.
I don't know. I can't get.
Will they eventually pay taxes on that, or is that just tax-free? But they're making tax-free millionaires taxes. They're not paying taxes. And finally, he's like, I don't fucking know, dude.
Bob and terrorist organizations. But I want to get to my point. Is that money that they are getting from the government, will they eventually pay tax on that, or is that just tax-free money essentially?
I don't know. I can't get any of the tax records from the state.
Because, for instance, if me or you make $1 million, we're going to be given
sixth time
back to the government.
If you live here, you're going to pay probably 50%.
Yeah. So if they get $1 million, none of it, they are getting taxed on that, most likely, especially if it's as just
seven.
Not even a loan. It's just money they're giving to the.
They're getting a loan. Now it's a loan?
Daycare to take care of. It's not government benefit.
To my understanding.
Do you not understand how taxes work? If it's income, it's taxed. Here's what I think happened with their numbers, okay? What I think happened is this guy went and looked up these daycares and their licenses. And let's say they're licensed for 109, or max capacity is 196, okay? Or whatever. I just made up a number. And let's say each child could potentially, depending on income limits, depending on hours, depending on occupancy, let's say each child could potentially, if their parents qualify, if their parents made $0 and was working full-time and they needed full-time care, plus this, plus that, could potentially get up to, I don't know, $3,000 a month. Times 12. Oh my God! They got $7 million! That's what I think he did. The problem is, that's not how the system works, right? Max capacity is not how many kids are there, okay? And even if we had the exact number of kids that were enrolled, not all the kids qualify for the assistance. The assistance is based on you have to have a full-time job. You have to be below this threshold. You can't make so much money. They have to be enrolled. You have to be at a job. They have to go so many hours. You have to do all these different things and qualify for it. And then the state pays a portion of. So the parents are still paying a portion of, and the state's paying a portion of. Some will get more. It's a sliding scale. Some will get more. Some will get less. But I think this is what he did. He said, what's the max capacity they'll allow in this building? 175 people. Okay. What if every kid was maxed out and got every fucking dollar they could potentially get from the state across every kid there? That's not even taking into account, probably 30% of them have some type of funding, right? Let's say 100% of them have it. What's the maximum they could get if they got it every month from now until the end of the year? Boom. That's how they got their numbers.
It's not considered income because it's an assistance
giving to the daycare to take care of. It's like
it's not.
Listen how dumb this is. Listen how dumb this is. Listen.
Most likely, especially if it has just a loan, not even a loan. It's just money they're giving to the daycare to take care of. It's like
it's not
government benefit.
To my understanding, it's not considered income because it's an assistance payment.
And so
you're retarded. It's not considered the parent's income. It 100% is business income. Like they're not going to charge the parents because they're getting assist. They're not going to make the parent pay income taxes on child care assistant payments. But once it goes to the business, it's 1,000% fucking income. Are you retarded? That's like saying you don't pay. Let's say you get food stamps. You don't pay taxes on the food stamps as income. And the state, when you use your food stamps at the store, you don't pay sales taxes there. But Walmart still pays income taxes on the income they got through the food stamp system. Finally, he just breaks down. He's like, this guy's asked me about taxes 19 times. I don't think they pay taxes. Fine.
So that's why they are doing all these businesses that are based off of assistance for daycare, for adult daycare, for transportation, because they're getting money for these companies. You can label them as assistance versus being for profit.
Correct.
Does anybody in the world think that daycares don't pay income tax? That daycare owners don't pay income tax? By that, I could say anything. I have a company that does driveways, but that's a driveway assistance, so we don't pay income taxes. Fucking idiot, dude.
That's exactly right.
Let's talk about Al-Shabaab and the money that's being allegedly sent to these terrorist organizations in Somalia. I spoke to a man he's also a whistleblower who used...
Attorney General came out. Federal government came out and said this money is not going to terrorist organizations. That's just a wild, unsubstantiated claim. It doesn't exist. It's not happening. We track that. There is no getting around it. But now they found a random agent that works at an airport that claims it's all true.
Used to work for the police department inside of the airport. He said every single week, literally millions of dollars worth of cash would be funneled through the airport, through TSA here in Minnesota, at the Minneapolis airport. How are they moving the money from Minnesota, from the taxpayer of Minnesota, back into these Somali-run businesses, into the hands of people like Al-Shabaab, who are linked with Al-Qaeda?
So anyone who travels knows that if you have over $10,000 in cash, you're going to get stopped by TSA. And
yes, 100%.
I want to know, where did this money come from? And if you're a couple traveling together, they're going to combine the money that you're carrying and say, okay, what is the total amount that you're carrying? And I talked to the TSA agent who worked at the Minneapolis airport, and there was a Somali man who came through with 2 suitcases. And he put on his declaration that he had $750,000 in cash. And so the TSA agent said, whoa, wait a minute here. And so they took him to a secure room. They opened up the suitcases. Sure enough, $750,000 in cash. And so she called the police. The police came, and then the officer said, well, I've never had this before. This is such a large amount of money. He said, where'd this money come from? The guy said, I don't have to tell you. I don't know. And so he called his superior, and
that's not true. None of this is true. The reason they make you declare this large amount of money is to prevent money laundering. You have to declare it, which he did, and then they come and they ask you about the source, have you paid tax on it, blah, blah, blah. And if for any reason they're suspicious, they can seize it on the spot. civil asset forfeiture. We even see it do when cops pull people over driving down the road with large amounts of money. And you have to get an attorney and come back and fight it. They give zero fucks. They will hold your money. If you don't come back and fight against it, they get to keep it at the department. 100% you're fucking lying when he says, oh, well, they said he declared it on the sheet, so we're not allowed to keep it. Bullshit.
He said, okay, I got to make a call and get back to you. And then he called him back and said, you got to let him go because he declared the money. He goes, no, we can't let it. So they're not even verifying where these funds came from. And so how deep does this go? How many people are involved? How
if they have just suspicion that it could be linked to a crime, even without any charges, they seize it and you have to come back and prove it's not. Bullshit. You're just lying now.
What is this?
Yeah, because I mean, how does somebody acquire $750 in cash? For instance, you can't even go to the bank right now.
How does someone acquire $750 in cash? You just said.
This go. How many people are involved? How bad is this?
Yeah, because I mean, how does somebody acquire $750 in cash? For instance, you can't even go to the bank right now asking for $100,000. You have to go through a big process to get that much money in cash. The only way that they could be acquiring this much money is through running a daycare, for instance, where they're literally receiving.
The only way that you could ever get $750, he means $750,000, is by running a daycare. That's the only way that someone could have $750,000 in cash is by running a daycare. That's what this guy just said. The Pulitzer Prize nominated by the Vice President of the United States, journalist, I use that term very loosely, just said the only way to have $750,000 is by running a daycare.
Process to get that much money in cash. The only way that they could be acquiring this much money is through running.
Oh, no, they are. They are. The state is sending them dollar bills straight from stripper cracks. They're so goddamn dumb. So now they don't even use, the business doesn't even use a bank? Is that what you're telling me? Now it's a cash-only business, and they keep all their money in their house. Well, you couldn't even get that much money out of a bank.
A daycare, for instance, where they're literally receiving anywhere from $1 million to $3 million.
And so one thing to keep in mind is that Somalis will not pay tax because tax is something that is reserved for them to impose on others. So they will not pay tax. So when they're buying these millions,
Somalis don't pay tax, allegedly. For some reason. No claim, no evidence, no nothing. Somalis believe that they impose tax on other people.
$1 homes and these brand new SUVs and going to Costco and loading up their carts, they're paying with cash, or they're using their EBT card, which is typically low.
You have to pay tax even when you pay with cash, you goddamn idiot.
With $5,000 a month. So on top of it's like
and they get EBT.
Syrup on top of chocolate. I mean, where does it stop?
It's like syrup on top of chocolate, and I'm a diabetic, baby.
So they're using cash instead of like a card, for instance, through Chase Bank.
Well, they're watching
through any fucking bank. Is this guy retarded?
The car dealerships with $100,000 in cash, 120. Here you go, I'll give cash. And these dealers are supposed to be reporting that to the IRS because it's more than $10,000. They have to track where the money came from, and they haven't been doing that because why? And the guy's going to walk in and give me cash, and of course I'm going to take it.
Then how does the dealership deposit the money? Are you like, you guys can't be this dumb?
So there are a lot of people who are complicit in this fraud, and there are a lot of people who are going to be called to answer for what they've done.
Now, talk about people like Ilhan Omar and her influence here on the Somali community. What influence does she?
They're asking us to suspend any common sense. So, okay, the car dealership is willing to get in trouble and have to commit a felony money laundering just to sell a car to a Somali person. And then they can never deposit that money without laundering it first, just to take care of the Somali community.
Yeah, then what happens here?
Well, she's a key reason that we have so many Somalis here. She was a big proponent of drawing them in because once she realized how loose the regulations were here on all of this money, this welfare money, this assistance payments, she started bringing the Somalis in, and they came in from all around the country. So not only were they coming from Somalia, they were coming from Texas and Florida, New York, and everywhere else because the word went out, you got to come to Minnesota because it's open season here. And so that's why, and they're still coming here, and they're still gonna get money. And so Ilhan Omar is, I mean, she's the godmother.
We can clearly see this guy just doesn't like Muslims and brown people.
of the Somalis.
And so whatever she says goes.
Yes.
And you keep referring that Somalians don't move alone. If one of them moves, 10 of them move.
Yes.
So that's how they're able to multiply.
You're telling me families move together? Every time I've moved completely alone with all my own shit, and Mariah just somehow finds me later.
It almost compound here as far as the population.
And so the idea is that they want to repopulate as quickly as possible. So that's why all these Muslim women you see, they're always pregnant all the time. Because when you have all these children, now you could start to overtake a city, a society, and now you're...
Guy's not racist, remember.
You run for school board, you run for office. We had a Somali guy, I couldn't believe he didn't get elected mayor of Minneapolis, but Jacob Fry, who was elected mayor, he's even worse. He bows down to the Somalis, he tries to speak their language. It's embarrassing.
And so these Somalis, they're Muslims, and Muslims are able to have 4 wives. And
yes.
they're able to have, I don't know, I doubt there's a cap to how many kids you can have, but by having 4 wives, you're able to have more.
I doubt there's a cap to how many kids you can have, you know. But for the wives is 4. They're allowed 4, and they do that, all of them. But I doubt there's a kid cap.
Kids in a person with just 1 wife.
Yes.
And so obviously they're going to multiply and compound inside of Minnesota. So who knows what Minnesota will look like in 50 years from now.
If this doesn't stop, Minnesota's done. It will be Somalia.
Like, we know the fraud attracted them, but initially what attracted them to come here? Because a lot of them came underneath Obama with what was happening in Somalia. A lot of refugees were taken into the United States. What attracted them to come straight to Minnesota? It's freezing up here.
I think part of the reason was that the churches, especially the Lutheran Church, got involved with bringing over a lot of refugees, and it started back with the Hmong population, which was very large in St. Paul, and I was happy to have them here. They worked, they opened businesses, they were good community members, they were good citizens, and so I think they leaned on the churches to say, hey, we need to bring these people over because they're good community, which was very large in St. Paul. Churches, especially the Lutheran Church, got involved with bringing over a lot of refugees, and it started back with the Hmong population, which was very large in St. Paul, and I was happy to have them here. They worked, they opened businesses, they were good community members, they were good citizens, and so I think they leaned on the churches to say, hey, we need to bring these people over because they're refugees, they're fleeing conflict. What conflict? I mean, they're always at conflict. They're trying.
The Civil War, dude. This all started in the 90s when this Somalian Civil War was going on. We took them in as refugees.
Tribal people, they're always at war. Bring them over here doesn't...
There you go. I'm not racist. They're tribal people. They're always at war. They're chucking spears over there. I'm not racist.
These people over because they're refugees, they're fleeing conflict. What conflict? I mean, they're always at conflict. They're tribal people, they're always at war. Bring them over here doesn't cure that. All it does is bring those problems over here.
When they were initially brought over, did you think as they're...
Don't bring them over here. They bring their brown people problems with them. Guy's not racist. Who knows why his family no longer speaks to him? Probably because he's such a good investigator, they're afraid they'll get investigated.
Initially brought over as refugees, was there a plan for them to eventually go back to Somalia?
No, I think the plan was that once they got here and they had their hand out and the state started putting money in, they said, I'm not going anywhere. And you're right, they hate the cold weather because it gets really cold here. But when you're getting $1 million a year, you can live through the winter.
And Trump, in the press conference, he was talking about how all they do is complain. He said the word bitch, all they do is bitch, and they complain.
He said the word bitch. He said it, not me. He said it.
They're coming from paradise, then they could complain, but they're coming from garbage, is what Trump said, and they're then complaining. How come you think some people that fled to a place that was so horrible now come here to the United States and they continue to complain and play victim to the point where they call, if you don't support what they're doing, they call you an Islamophobe, they call you racist, to the point where eventually everyone's kicked out of an apartment complex and it's full of just one race. Doesn't that make them racist?
With no evidence whatsoever. This old man just said that.
I can tell you why they do it. Because...
But now you see where we're at? It's always full circle with MAGA. Now this is reverse racism. Because this old man said that they take over apartment complexes and they kick everybody out by claiming they're racist until it's only a Somalian apartment complex, and that's reverse racism. Boom. Got it.
So what is the penalty for a Muslim who leaves the Islamic faith? Death. That's the penalty. And so the idea of Islam is that the world is theirs, that we're invaders, that we don't have a right to anything, that Allah has created the world for them, and they're going to take it back. So there's a word in Islam called taqiyya, and it's a word that allows Muslims to
He's associated that every Somali comes here and gets $1 million.
Lie, steal, cheat, do whatever they have to in order to further their goal of a world caliphate.
And one of those examples I've seen personally is you go up to one of them and you ask them if they speak English and they'll say no. They'll even say they speak French instead.
That's another area of fraud. Thank you for bringing that up. So
they use that as a way to not speak with you, to pretty much not integrate, and then they complain that people can't communicate with them.
Right.
Well, like yesterday at Walmart, I couldn't even speak with the lady who was checking this out because she wasn't speaking English, and I had to put my phone where I needed so that way she could read and then take me to where I needed to go.
So this is a made-up story. You want me to tell you why? He says, I went to Walmart and I couldn't check out. So he's lying, and here's why. He says, I went to Walmart and I couldn't check out because the lady working there checking me out didn't speak English. First of all, that's not allowed at any Walmart, first of all. Second of all, then he says, I had to put it in my phone so she could take me to what I was looking for. Were you asking the lady to show you where something was in Walmart, or were you checking out? Were you asking for assistance from a Walmart employee to find something in the store, or were you checking out? They can't both be true.
Even speak with the lady who's checking this out, speak with you to pretty much not integrate, and then they complain that people can't communicate with them.
Listen to his lie.
At Walmart, I couldn't even speak with the lady who was checking this out because she wasn't speaking English, and I had to put my phone where I needed so that way she could read and then take me to where I needed to go.
So this dovetails into another area of fraud, and that is the interpreter services. So when a Somali goes to the doctor, magically they forgot how to speak English, so they need an interpreter there. So the county...
These are federal laws, okay? Anti-discrimination laws. When you go to the doctor and you don't speak English, that sucks for you, but you have a right to know what's going on with your health care. Now they're like, that's a scam too. They just pretend like they can't speak no English, so they get paid millions of dollars to have translators. Are you kidding me? Imagine being here and not speaking the language. Imagine being in another country. Imagine you're on vacation and you're in France and you don't speak French. And you wake up in a hospital and nobody can tell you what's wrong with you. Are you shitting me?
Brings in an interpreter at $100 an hour, minimum 8 hours, to interpret what the doctor is telling the patient.
So that's another layer of fraud that nobody's even talked about or revealed.
And it's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars all on its own. Interpreter services.
Millions and millions, hundreds of millions.
Because what percentage do you think of these people, especially if they were born here in the United States, they speak English, right?
Of course they do.
They should not be saying, I know English.
And then remember, the interpreter has to get to the doctor's office or the hospital. How are they getting there? The transportation company, and then they got to get back home. And that patient had to get to the doctor's office. How? Transportation. Kids got to get to school. How? Transportation. That's why I said the transportation is the hub of, really, I think, all of this.
So basically what we're talking about between all these fraudulent businesses, the daycare, the autism centers, the adult daycare, the home services, and then the transportation. And then on top of that, you have it looped in with them going eventually to the doctors for translators.
Federal law. They're not even talking about Minnesota anymore. They don't understand this. They just know it's something else they can bitch about as interpreter. Federal law requires any healthcare provider that accepts a dime of Medicare or Medicaid to provide free and qualified interpreters for people with limited or no English proficiency. So let's say there was a guy that was on TikTok the other day that was talking about it. Let's say your family's, your dad lives here or whatever, and he's trying to learn English, right? He speaks like broken English. But what we're talking about are medical terms, like surrounding cancer and shit, right? He's probably not learning medical terms in English, right? He's learning how to have a conversation at the gas station, at work, or whatever. You still have to be provided a fucking translator. And we shouldn't take that away from anybody. This is part of the goddamn Civil Rights Act they're trying to roll back now, right? Oh, it's a scam. They better be speaking goddamn English. They want to get health care in my country.
To be paid by the state.
That's exactly what's happening, yes. The county or the state is paying for an interpreter or translator every time they go. And when they go to have a baby, they don't speak English. So the translator will sit there, and if they're there for more than 8 hours, then it loops back into another 8 hours. So it's 16 hours as a minimum.
So they've chosen, quite frankly, the most perfect industries to that.
What is the alternative? Imagine some of your family, right, have a fucking drop of empathy. Imagine some of your family doesn't speak English or doesn't speak English well and wakes up in the fucking hospital. What the fuck would you have them? What would you like to happen?
Then work together in a web.
So, look, I have to give them credit for being clever enough to stay together and do.
This is his big bid at I'm not racist. He tries to say it's not their fault. They're just using the system. It's actually Tim Walz and all the Democrats.
My big issue is with the people at the state of Minnesota who keep writing these checks over and over and over. So it's not one check that got written by accident. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of checks, millions of checks, and maybe $100 billion in fraud that they sent out, and they never bothered to find out how the money was being spent.
And do these people, for instance, if they're having a baby, are they paying to have that baby? What happens if they can't pay the doctor?
They don't pay for anything. The healthcare is all covered. Housing's covered, healthcare is covered, everything, food, everything.
And because, like you were saying, everything's in cash, are they then able to apply for SNAP benefits and for welfare and stuff like that?
Yes.
Because if you don't have cash,
they're showing zero income.
They're showing zero income.
Yes.
So, like for instance, the ladies working at a daycare, they're not getting paid on paper, and they're just filing for welfare.
Right. So what happens is.
So now none of them. There's no payroll tax. Like our government's so goddamn stupid they can't figure out that a daycare with 134 students has 0 employees. Zero employees. Duh.
You have payments from the federal government, you have payments from the state, you have payments from the county they're in, and you have payments from the city they live in. So all those things, that's why I said this is $100 billion. It could be $200 billion. It's such a big number. You can't wrap your mind around it. It's like, how did this happen?
You can't really blame the Somalians because if you were in the same position, you'd probably do the exact same thing. Because you're having everyone receive millions of dollars, and that's why you need to really focus on the corrupt politicians that are inside the Capitol that are allowing this to happen.
I blame the politicians for allowing this to happen.
And then the Somalians, it's morally wrong for them to be doing this, to be frauding the people.
Well, again, it's not because Takia allows them to do this because it furthers their goal of a world caliphate. I mean, that's the...
There you go. Back into the Muslim faith. They're doing this to fuck us so they can start a one world Muslim organization, the caliphate.
Bottom line, that's what they're after.
So by enabling them to, they're able to justify this morally.
Because how can you guys deny the evidence that's right in your face, right? Remember that dumb bitch that come in here at the first of the stream? Right? Why are you against? Look at all the overwhelming evidence in this video. Why are you against it? Oh, they haven't shown any evidence whatsoever, any at all. They're just making a bunch of fucking claims based in racism. Well, that's what they do, man. They go, they multiply, they have multiple wives. They can't go back home because they're just over there chucking spears and throwing rocks. So they come here and destroy our white nation. Oh, okay.
Because if they receive all this money, they have all this stuff, they have a good base, they can then continue to grow Islam.
Right. And so what's really sad from my perspective is Franklin Avenue here in Minneapolis was always very heavily American Indian occupied. The Indian health boards there, their opportunity centers there, their community centers there. The sidewalks even have Native American symbols in them as you go along, in the concrete as you go along. And that area has been totally co-opted by the Somalis.
It's a Somali takeover, like quite frankly.
And so they're spreading out Minneapolis, St. Paul, St. Cloud, Rochester, Owatonna. It's going throughout the entire state of Minnesota. I'm waiting for them to really take over Duluth. They haven't done that yet, but they're up there.
And we're talking about Islam as well, because that's intertwined with the Somalis, because the majority of them are members of Islam.
Every one of them.
How much are you seeing Islam grow here, the influence of Islam in the Quran? How are you seeing people convert as well?
Well, so when someone becomes a Muslim, let's say they're Catholic or Lutheran or whatever, and they become a Muslim, the Muslims use the term revert. They don't say convert. They revert because they say, well, everybody should have been Muslim, and if you weren't, you were going down the wrong path. Now that you've become a Muslim, you reverted back to where you should have been all along.
And are you seeing a lot of people convert to Islam?
I hear stories. I mean, I don't know of anyone personally who would do it, but it's ironic that there's snow out there because this is like this giant snowball that's rolling downhill, and I feel like I'm the only one here trying to stop it. I'm going, help, 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 and it's just...
insane.
It's insane.
And let's get into some of the paperwork you have about the fraud. You have all the paperwork you've well done.
Everybody's converting to Islam, but he doesn't know anybody that would or ever has, by the way.
It's your own internal investigation. You even came up with the charts.
We can start with one of the child care facilities that we visited was called Mako Child Care, M-A-K-O. Well, interestingly, there are 2 child care facilities located at that same address. There's Mako Child Care, and there's another one called Mini Child Care. And between the 2 of them over the last 3 years,
they changed ownership, by the way, and licenses aren't transferable. So you have to get with the state, and the license review process usually takes at least 90 days. So you have to get with the state when you're planning on selling a daycare, and you have to set this all up to where if you want the daycare to continue to have, their clients and to keep their base of clients, then you have to set this up. Like, we're going out of business on this day and they're taking over the very next day.
They've gotten about $8 million in 3 years between the two childcare and...
according to this guy alone, the only source on this amount of money is this fellow.
I've been by that place literally 300 times, and I never, ever, ever have seen a single child there. In fact, I've never seen a single child at any of these childcare facilities.
And that's just one example. That's
one.
So 2 childcare companies in the same building.
Yes, and then we have another example here. There was a daycare called Creative Minds Daycare, and they had so many violations. This is how bad this place was. So many violations that the state of Minnesota actually said, no, you guys, you can't. So they still got, in fiscal year 2025, they got $2.45 million.
According to this guy alone.
Even though they had all these violations, so they shut down Creative Minds, and they reopened the next day under a new license, and they called it...
Yeah, that's the way it works. Like, imagine if you're buying a daycare, right? You want to buy the business, right? They already have, let's say, 50 kids coming in. You want to keep that going, right? You want to keep the clientele. Now, in the state of Minnesota, licenses are not transferable. So what you do is when you approach this daycare to buy it, you would go there and say, I'm going to get my license and I'm going to take over as soon as my license is approved. So we need to set this up to where when you shut down on the last day of June, the first day of July, that I open the very next day, okay? That way we can keep the clientele and no one's without daycare. We don't have to shut down. We don't have to renovate. We don't have to do none of that. We just roll it over. That's the way it should work. Or else you're going to lose all your fucking clients for 90 days and then you're going to have to start back with 0 kids enrolled. That would be kind of silly, no?
Super Kids Daycare Center, but they still have they happen so fast, they still have the Creative Minds Daycare sign on the building.
Let's keep going. So for just there alone, we've uncovered $11 million worth of fraud in 3 daycares.
So then there was another facility that has, my records show that they had 4 childcare facilities in there.
My records show.
But I think the number when I actually went there was 7. And one of them was called Minnesota Childcare, and they claimed to have 102 kids that are at childcare every single day. And I said, well, I mean, how is this 102 kids? That's a lot of kids. And they got $3.6 million in fiscal year.
He's not even looking at notes. He just got this all memorized by heart. Every child care place, their maximum capacity allowed, and every dime they received from the government.
2025, and they had no kids. No kids, in fact.
How do we know he's just making this up? Because there's no fucking way.
None of the child care in those. In fact, some of them don't even answer that there was nobody there. And they're still getting millions of dollars. Nobody is bothering to follow up. Even if they find violations, they're not going back. So for a place to shut down, it was so bad. They said, well, we better shut down. But then they reopened the next day under a new license. Same place. 3801 Portland Avenue, Minneapolis.
And let's go through some of these numbers you have. Let's go through some more of them, because I think the numbers are horrific, quite honestly, because
now listen,
we work extremely
listen closely what he says.
Hard, whether it be through YouTube or whatever business you're in.
People like me and you work extremely hard. You and your mom go and make propaganda pieces for YouTube. What fucking hard work have you done?
We work really hard for our dollar, and so do everyone watching this video. Whether you're working at McDonald's or if you're working at Charles Schwab, okay, you're working hard. And so these people are literally making millions of dollars just by opening up daycare. So let's go through the number as to how much fraud, how much money these daycares and other companies are making.
Well, I don't have numbers for all the child care centers because there are so many of them that I can't even get all the data from the state of Minnesota. It's not even on there. So I'll go. Some of these places aren't even registered with the state of Minnesota.
What was that? You can't get the data because it's not on there.
That I can't even get all the data from the state of Minnesota. It's not even on there. So I'll go. Some of these places aren't even registered with the state of Minnesota, but I know they're getting money because they're brand new BMWs in the parking lot.
Oh, so you know they're getting money because you judge the cars in the parking lots and you can tell. So how the fuck did you get any of these numbers? It's not on the website. I can't get it from the state, but I know they're getting money because they got nice. How did you get any of these fucking numbers, bro?
Minnesota, it's not even on there. So I'll go. Some of these places aren't even registered with the state of Minnesota, but I know they're getting money because they're brand new BMWs in the parking lot. So this one in St. Paul.
And we're just going to drop it there. How did you... Nick Shirley, if he had an ounce of journalistic integrity, would say, I need to verify these amounts. These are gigantic amounts. that you've said over and over and over, no one will believe how much this is. This is huge. It's the most fraud that's ever happened, blah, blah, blah. I need to verify these amounts. That's it. I just need to verify these amounts. That's all. Not a single fucking person can verify these numbers. Except for this man right here, and Nick Shirley repeats them.
At 1048 Aurora Avenue called Aurora Child Care. It is this awful, it used to be like a woodworking store. It's a tiny little building with no parking. And they say that they have 106 kids, 106 kids in fiscal year 2025, which is July to June.
Well, kids don't need to park, but thanks.
Minnesota, so July of 2024 to June 2025. They got $3.1 million. How many kids do you think there were there? I went there 5 times. 0. I went there in the morning, I went there in the afternoon, I went there in the evening. There were no kids there at all. That's Aurora. Diamond Daycare, 460 Lexington Parkway North in St. Paul. They say that they have 97 kid capacity for 97 children.
Oh, he fucked up. What word did he say?
St. Paul. They say that they have 97 kid capacity for 97 children. 97. 97. This place is tiny. It's like a 10 by 10 building.
Donate to the fucking show so we can combat these goddamn retards, please.
They got 1.5 million in fiscal year 2025, and they have no kids. None.
There's no kids inside the daycare.
No kids. No kids.
Keep going.
Here's another one. Sweet Angel.
Oh, we love Sweet Angel.
Sweet Angel.
We paid him a nice little bit.
Yeah, we went to Sweet Angel. So Sweet Angel Child Care, 2740 Minnehaha Avenue, Suite 156. Again, a tiny facility, and they said they have 74 children. 74. So they're not 100. There's 74 kids.
Sometimes he knows he's lying. He knows he's looking at the capacity number, but they'll claim they have 74 kids in there every day. That's not what capacity means. You know that.
They got 1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. They got to step up their game. They should be getting like 2.5 million, right? How many kids did we see there? 0. And what's weird about these child care facilities is all the windows are covered, and a lot of the time nobody answers the doors. And even if they do, they yell at you, they scream at you. They're very violent people. Then we went to the Learning Center where they had the sign misspelled.
And what's interesting, when you go to these child daycare centers, all the windows are completely blacked out. The doors are locked. What's the door doing locked if you need to bring your child?
By the way, they found billions of dollars in fraud. And when he asked him to go through let's go through all of it. Let's go through every dollar. I want to hear all these numbers. He brings up like 4 places.
Into the daycare. Doors are completely locked.
No billions. Didn't happen.
Like nice, aesthetically looking buildings. These look like they're industrial buildings for warehouses.
Every single childcare that I've been to has been in an industrial or commercial building with no play area for the kids, or some of them have some ramshackle novelty.
Imagine this, a business being in a commercial space. Imagine, gasp. I am overwhelmed with surprise.
Blocked out. And these are not even like nice, aesthetically looking buildings. These look like they're industrial buildings for warehouses.
Every single childcare that I've been to has been in an industrial or commercial building with no.
Every child care he's been to has been in a commercial building. Where would you like businesses to be? Because usually they're complaining when people run daycares out of their home, right? But now he's like, every daycare business I've been to has been in a commercial building. Okay.
No play area for the kids, or some of them have some ramshackle novelty stuff outside. But you can see, I go there now, there's no footprints in the snow. There are no kids playing there. And
now he's checking footprints in the snow.
The thing that happens is when they do bother to inspect these places and they write a violation, this is right here. Correction documentation submitted and approved. They never went back to the facility. So if the violation was unsanitary conditions, broken furniture.
Wait a second. You don't know what that documentation, what if they have to actually document it? Right? Someone writes a statement, a fucking contractor shows up, depending on what it is, they take a picture and submit it. Why the fuck doesn't that work?
They're inoperable bathrooms. They never go back and double check that the violation was corrected.
Except the next time they inspect, you goddamn retard. In fact, I think the state said every place that was featured in Nick Shirley's video, they had been there within 5, the longest span of an inspection going on in one of these daycares was 5 months. 5 months or less, they had been to every daycare in that video.
All the child care facility does is send them documentation, say, yeah, we fixed it. And that's it. They go, okay, it's approved. And the payments keep rolling. Payments keep rolling.
Yeah, if let's say there's a violation because the door lock. Okay, we installed a door lock. Here's a picture of it.
And who approves these buildings?
Well, so...
For instance, where I'm from, we don't have daycare centers every block. Here in Minnesota, you do.
Almost literally every block, you have a daycare, a child care.
You're not from a big fucking city, dude. We get it.
Center, and in a lot of them, you'll have a child care center listed at that address, and a healthcare center, and an autism center, all the same address. And you go, well, it's like a 12 by 12 building. What do you got, like 300 people? I mean, how is it possible? It's not. It's all fraud. It's total fraud. What I'm telling you is that Somalis do not send their children to child care.
It's almost like a daycare, a learning center, and an autism center can be in the same area, the same place even. It could be the same fucking business.
Ever, not once. It violates their faith.
Because would they trust another woman or another man with their children?
Absolutely not. Absolutely do not send their children to child care, ever, not once. It's possible. It's not.
Listen.
It's all fraud. It's total fraud. What I'm telling you is that Somalis do not send their children to child care, ever, not once. It violates.
Somalis do not use daycare now. So it has to be a fraud because Somalis own it and Somalis use it. And it's against their religion to use a daycare. It's against their religion to use a daycare.
It's their faith.
Because would they trust another woman or another man with their children?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Let's keep going. Let's find some more fraud, because the fraud here is insane. I'm not joking when we say this is the fraud capital. And this will be one of the largest.
By the way, he just went through like 50 of them. He had no numbers for.
Fraud.
Let me get another file out.
Ever in the world. It's that bad.
So people are literally in Somalia right now are probably getting on their phone right now messages saying, come to Minnesota. You can get millions of dollars.
So now we're just hypothetically saying, there's Somalis here right now that are texting people in Somalia saying, come to Minnesota, become a millionaire. Duh.
So there's another agency at play here that is helping this fraud stay on steroids, and it's the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And this fine woman is the leader, Tiki Brown. So this is a source of more money. It's also this nonsense award that they give these childcare called Parent Aware. It's a banner with a star on it. Oh, it's a Parent Aware award. And I said, I've never heard of that before. So I started to look it up. Yeah, it's a program she put together, and it's only given to Somali childcare facilities. It doesn't mean a thing.
Parent Aware offers free tools and resources for families in child care and early education programs. It can help you find child care options for affordable care and tools and tips to find the right program for your child. Additionally, Parent Aware helps programs continuously improve their quality through star ratings and resources. Minnesota families and child care and early education programs, including family child care programs and child care centers licensed by the Department of Human Services or tribal nations, certified and uncertified, licensed exempt public school, pre-kindergarten programs, and charter school early learning programs, early Head Start and Head Start programs are all eligible. Benefits: you get free tools and resources for families in child care early education programs. It's not an award. It's a program called Parent Aware, where you can register with the state. They put a sticker on your door, and then they'll come in and check it out. Plus, other families that use your service can basically rate you, right? This is a Parent Aware facility with a rating of 5.3 stars. It's not an award. It's not only for Somalis. It's not even only for daycare. They have Parent Aware ratings where they can earn a 1, 2, 3, or 4-star rating. Parent Aware ratings are based on demonstrated use of research-based practices. Each rating level builds on the previous one, helping families easily identify which practices the program is using. It's a Somali-only award that doesn't mean anything, and she just gives it to people. Somalis only.
Yeah, it's a program she put together, and it's only given to Somali child care facilities. It doesn't mean a thing. There's no reason for it to be there. It's more nonsense from the state of Minnesota.
And do you have any more numbers right here? It's kind of fun to see how much fraud's actually happening, because it's actually unbelievable.
He keeps going through papers, and he's not finding all these fraud numbers. That's weird. He just pulled something up about a program that he doesn't understand. A rating program. Parent Aware rating program for the Department of Children, Youth, and Families.
I've got numbers for probably, I mean, I don't know if it's 50 of the child care. There's so many of them that I can't even get all the data. So what I did, if I can deflect over to the transportation, because I go back to this transportation.
Okay, so we're deflecting over because he doesn't have the numbers. He can't tell us how he got the numbers, where the numbers come from, and nobody can verify these numbers that he just made up. So now let's go back to the transportation side.
Being the hub of all this fraud because it's all connected through the transportation. So I'm trying to collect the data on over 900 of these non-emergency medical transportation companies, and the data is so overwhelming and so hard to get, I had to hire a computer specialist to write a program to extract the data, and he's up to 298 companies right now.
What? So this data isn't publicly accessible. You can't get it through a FOIA. You hired a computer programmer to scrape this data, and nobody can verify it. Nobody in the world could verify this data whatsoever. That's what you're telling me. You just hired some guy and said, I want these numbers. He gave you numbers and you paid him. He's also telling you who's Somalian and not. Told you it was all bullshit. Now, MAGA will never, ever hear this or hone in on this or question this. Oh, he had to hire a computer programmer to go through and get the data because it's not publicly available, and that's how he got all the data, and that's why he's the only person in the world that actually has these numbers. Wait until we get to the bottom of this investigations. The daycare owners have been saying, I don't know what they're talking about, this $2, $3, $4 million. I have no idea. We don't make nearly that much. I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. That's a made-up number. When I went looking for the data, I can't get the data. Not through FOIA, not through requests, not through the state of the state of Minnesota. You can't get this data. But this guy just conveniently has it for some places he doesn't. He hired a computer programmer to get it for him. What?
He said it's so, I'm trying to, if I can deflect over to the transportation, because I go back to transportation being the hub of all this fraud because it's all connected through the transportation.
So what we're learning is I don't have the data and neither does he.
So I'm trying to collect the data on over 900 of these non-emergency medical transportation companies, and the data is so overwhelming and so hard to get, I had to hire a computer specialist to write a program to extract the data, and he's up to 298 companies right now. He said it's so...
Who knows? Bro, if I look this up, I'm gonna crash the fuck out. This motherfucker could be scraping phone numbers. And being like, hey, they got $661 million. He has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
So convoluted the way this is put together. When this stuff settles on this transportation, this is going to be in the billions of dollars, billions, and nobody verifies any of these trips were ever made.
Because you're driving around Minnesota, we drove around the highways, we spotted out 4 of them.
When you get like a data dump and you start scraping it, you're scraping numbers. You have no idea what the fucking numbers are. Out of context, right? Like if you got a number that was 42 million, 378,482. I just described a fucking phone number here local to me, right? Like you put commas in there, suddenly it's money.
The transportation vehicle going because they have a number on the back of all their cars. That's not the license plate number. There was not a single person transporting anybody.
No, I've never, and I've seen thousands of these vans around
all their cars.
Any of these trips were ever made. When this stuff settles on this transportation, this is going to be in the billions of dollars, billions, and nobody verifies any of these trips were ever made.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Again, insurance companies are paying a portion of this, okay? When have you ever known a health insurance company to hand out money without trying to claw it back tooth and nail? They don't want to give you the fucking money. There's no fucking way they're not verifying this.
Because you're driving around Minnesota, we drove around the highways, we spotted out 4 of the transportation vehicles going because they have a number on the back of all their cars. That's not the license plate number. There was not a single person transporting anybody.
No,
There's not a single person transportating anybody. Excuse me?
Transportation vehicle going because they have a number on the back of all their cars. That's not the license plate number. There was not a single person transporting anybody.
They're not transportating anybody. Thank God.
No, I've never, and I've seen thousands of these vans ride around the Twin Cities because there are hundreds and hundreds of these companies. I've never, ever seen a single passenger in any of these vehicles, and they're all minivans, or the majority of them are minivans.
And when we're talking about fraud, fraud is fraud. A crime is a crime. It doesn't have to do with the race. It doesn't have to do with the religion. It's just the fact that fraud is fraud.
But you blamed it on their race, and you blamed it on their religion, and claimed that they're the only people doing it.
And a crime is a crime. And it just so happens to be that the Somalians are working hand in hand with the government here, committing the fraud and allowing this crime to happen on the taxpayer citizen here who's paying a fistload of money to the government.
Exactly. So not only are Somalians guilty of fraud, but the people who are writing the checks are just as guilty. In fact, they're more guilty because they wrote the checks.
Exactly. And so this doesn't have to do anything with someone being a racist or an Islamophobe. It's just the fact that fraud's fraud, and you don't like paying your state taxes here, knowing that it's just going potentially back into the hands of a terrorist organization like Al-Shabaab in Somalia.
Well, if this continues, the Somalis are going to own every single building in Minneapolis. And there will be literally 500 mosques here.
And now let's talk about Tim Walz. Do you think Tim Walz will be going to prison for this? And he's running for a 3rd term right now.
So my personal belief is that Tim Walz violated Minnesota Statute 3.971 because he did not, to this day, he has not reported the fraud to the Office of the Legislative Auditor, and that law says you have to report it. So even if it was in the news for a month.
Tim Walz is on the news talking about the fraud. Yeah, we have fraud. Yeah, we're getting to the bottom of it. It's not a Somali problem. It's not a brown people problem. It's not a Muslim problem. There's fraud within these systems.
Months, he still had to personally report it to the OLA, and he's never done it.
And why would Tim Walz know about the fraud but not report it?
So, because again, the Somali community all votes in a block, and he needs their votes because if you got, they don't know how many Somalis are here. They say 80,000. I said it's way over 100,000. So they're all voting together, and that's a big number. And he's terrified of this racist Islamophobe label, and I don't understand it.
So
wait a second. Did you guys catch that? Whose mom is that in the window?
I got a small dick, but wait till it get hard. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Thank you very much for the 6-packs, 3 6-packs. Michaela Robertson. Whose mom was that in the window? How much is that mother in the window? The one with the waggly hair. Thanks for giving us each $1 million. Absolutely. I'll do it again too. Just prove to me that you're Muslim. Thank you very much for the donation.
Understand it.
So do you think it's all due to
number? And he's terrified of this racist Islamophobe label, and I don't understand it.
So do you think it's all due to political correctness that this has happened?
Yes.
And we've seen what's happened in Europe as they've let in a lot of countries from Northern Africa, the Middle East. Numbers of rape have gone.
We've seen what's happening in New York as they've let in a lot of countries.
This has happened.
Yes.
And we've seen what's happened in Europe as they've let in a lot of countries from Northern.
This is not about race. Fraud is fraud. It's not about race. We know what happens in New York. They got a socialist up there. He's a Muslim. They let in a lot of countries. Now they're raping everybody.
The Middle East, numbers of rape have gone up exponentially. The safety of their towns have gone up. The Christmas villages have gone down. New Year celebrations have gone down in places like Paris. And I've been to some of these rallies myself in the United Kingdom, for instance, and I asked Tommy Robinson, the man leading this, in a separate occasion, how come this was able to happen? He said, well, because of political correctness and the fear of being called racist, it's so bad that we allowed our daughters to get raped. And here, many people aren't getting raped, but their bank accounts are, and their tax dollars are.
It's so bad we just have to submit our daughters to the Muslim rape festivals. Tommy Robinson said that? I could imagine. You mean the far right fucking activists from the UK? Yeah, I could imagine.
Getting sent overseas to fund terrorist organizations, and this is just another component of what happens when people are too afraid to speak out due to the fear of being called a racist.
So what's been happening in Minneapolis, and again, there's an area by the university right over there, University of Minnesota, called Dinkytown, and again, it was a hip spot when I was in college. You went to pizza there. I mean, you kind of hung out there, and there is nobody who will go there at night because of the violence.
I don't think he's old enough to rent a hotel room, so his mom had to probably get this hotel room.
and the attacks, the robberies,
the Marriott.
there. And these are Somali gangs who are doing this, and you know that's the case because they have cameras everywhere, and they say, "Oh well, we know they had hoodies on. We don't have good footage." You know exactly who they are. They're smashing windows on cars over here, and I think it's a culmination of not having to work and not having to pay for anything.
Bro, I'm not Somalian, but I would smash your fucking window.
What are you going to do all day? Go out idle hands.
You would almost feel like you're invincible if you're living here as a Somalian, knowing that, okay, my dad, he's getting millions of dollars from running this fake daycare center, and then I'm also able to go and commit a crime. If someone says anything, I'm going to call them a racist, and most likely whoever's writing the claim or the judge, because our king of the mafia here, who got caught for $7.2 million of fraud, and they just let him go. So maybe
Dinky Town. I come from West Dinky Town. Okay? The baddest of the bad.
if I go bash in the window and steal that person's purse out of their car while they run to Starbucks, I'm probably not going to get charged. So I'm pretty much invincible. Let's just go out and do this while we have our idle hands while nothing else is going on.
So I went to Catholic grade school. In fact, I went to Annunciation where that terrible shooting happened last summer. Those kids were killed. And when you misbehaved in Catholic school, you got the ruler, you got a whack, you got a slap on the wrist, you got an ear twist. I mean, these were, so you grew up pretty straight.
I wonder why there was a shooting at that place.
It was pretty strict. And here there are no shackles because they have no fear of the consequences. And when a guy just convicted of $7.2 million in fraud is let go, that sends a signal to the entire Somali.
Because his brother did it. They didn't prove that he participated.
Community, you can do whatever you want.
The judge never claimed that the fraud didn't happen or that no one committed fraud or that we should loosen the laws because they're targeting brown people too much. She's like, fraud happened. It definitely happened. We should also strengthen our laws so fraud can't happen like this. But you haven't proven that this man did it. All you've got is his name signed on a couple withdrawal receipts, right? And you can't prove that his brother didn't just write his fucking name.
Yeah, because I mean, if I was a teenager, especially if you're a teenager, you're not an adult, so you can't get charged as an adult. But if you know that people aren't getting in trouble for things like fraud, like if you know your dad's out there committing and making millions of dollars and he's probably laughing about it at the dinner table, if you see that old lady with the money or...
They're creating entire scenarios. Oh, I'm a little dirty Muslim team. And my dad comes home from his fraud factory every day and says, I fucked the white man out of $1 million. So the next time I'm outside, when my dad's laughing about it at the dinner table, and I see a nice little old lady walking away from the ATM with $1,000, I'm going to bust her up. That's what I'm going to do. Like, what the fuck is this? Fucking fear porn. I guarantee you he jacks off to this.
The lady with the purse, things like fraud. Like if you know your dad's out there committing and making millions of dollars and he's probably laughing about it at the dinner table, if you see that old lady with the money or the lady with the purse and you go and steal, you know the police aren't going to do anything. Right now the police won't even, they're telling people here in Minnesota if they see ICE, call 911. So you know that the police is on your side.
What the fuck does that have to do with robbery?
Which is going to enable you to act in lawless ways because you might as well.
Yeah.
And that's very worrying for a lot of people. People need to understand, like, this is not a thing where you get called a racist or if you get called an Islamophobe. A crime's a crime, fraud is fraud, a spade is a spade.
Yeah.
If something's happened, you should be able to call it out for what it is.
So, Nick, it just flashed into my mind the name of that daycare we went to where the sign was misspelled. It's Early Learning Center, but they didn't spell the word learning correctly, so it's Early Learning Center, and that sign has been like that for 9 years, 10 years. And when we were there, that gentleman who worked at the restaurant right there in that same building came out because that woman thought we were ICE and she was screaming, ICE, ICE, ICE. So the guy came out to see what was going on. And we said, oh, well, we're just trying to talk to someone at this childcare. And he said, what childcare? I said, we're right here, Early Learning Center. He goes, oh. I said, well, how long have you worked at the restaurant? 8 years. Well, how many children have you seen here? None, never. We went to the nail salon across the street that directly faces the childcare, the Early Learning Center, and said, well, how many kids do you see here? I said, what kids? No kids. We never see kids.
How many people do you think are just living life like similar to that one guy?
Proof. That's it. That's all you need.
Outside of the daycare center who's been living there for 8 years. He didn't even know that was a daycare, and he's never seen a child in there. How many people do you think, how many Minnesotans do you think are just living day to day, going about their life, not knowing that millions of dollars are being funneled through fraudulently every single day?
So, fortunately, I kept at this. I started sounding alarm years and years and years ago that this was happening.
By the way, Tommy Robinson was just in the news calling on the United States to invade the United Kingdom. After Donald Trump went to Venezuela, he's asking Donald Trump to invade the UK and free them from their dictator. That's the guy I would quote in my piece.
And finally, I started to get some traction, and now it's out in the news, and now we get the U.S. attorney involved. That's all my groundwork, all that fraud. I uncovered all that. And again, had I been a state of Minnesota employee, I'd be a whistleblower. I'd be entitled.
He did not uncover all that. It was a huge investigation that was reported by whistleblowers within the system.
To $1 billion. I don't care. I don't want the money. I don't want fame. I just want it to stop.
And do you think it will stop, or what will put this to a stop?
Well, we're at a fork in the road right now, and we either go this way, which is the destruction of our society, literally the destruction. I'm not being pejorative or using rhetoric. The literal destruction of our society, or we stop this and we say, look, you either assimilate. This is America. You become part of our culture. You can have your own faith. You can do all that, but you become part of our society, or you get out.
Do you think they will assimilate, or where do you think this will actually go?
They will never assimilate. And again, one of the women Tuesday when we went to the child care, she screamed, "We're American citizens. We're American citizens." Well, the reality is there's a difference between being an American citizen and a naturalized U.S. citizen.
He's not racist, right? He's not racist. He doesn't care. It's just about fraud. Fraud. No. There's a difference between being born here and coming here the right way and becoming a U.S. citizen. What? What's the difference, bro?
Assimilate, or where do you think this will actually go?
They will never assimilate. And again, one of the women Tuesday when we went to the child care, she screamed, "We're American citizens. We're American citizens." Well, the reality is there's a difference between being an American citizen and a naturalized U.S. citizen. There's a big difference.
Because a lot of these people have been here for 20 years. A lot of them are first-generation born Americans. But for those that came underneath Joe Biden in the past 4 years, or those that are naturalized,
this case was the product of a joint investigation by the Medicare Fraud Control Unit and the Office of the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison and the Department of Health and Human Services Office of the Inspector General, DHHS, OIG. The agencies received substantial assistance from the Minnesota Commerce Fraud Bureau's fraud investigation, now housed in the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension's State Fraud Unit, and the Minnesota Department of Human Services Forensic Lab. The Minnesota MFCU and the Minnesota Attorney General's Office prosecuted the case. It doesn't say shit about this old man.
They very well could get deported, right?
Well, so
especially those that came underneath Joe Biden. For how many more people did you see come into Minnesota when Joe Biden opened up the borders? Is that a lot?
10,000, 20,000. I mean, it's been a mass influx.
And they've been here at this point now, they've been here probably 4 years. They probably had a baby. Therefore, they have an anchor baby here. And it's going to be a lot harder to deport somebody once they have that.
Anchor babies, yeah. Maybe 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, who knows?
Mm-hmm. And so do you think the only option is...
Got anchor babies now because they've been here long enough.
They assimilate, which you don't believe is possible, or for them to get deported?
Yes.
What one do you think will actually happen?
I think it's going to have to be a blend, because trying to deport all these people is going to be very difficult. The politicians, as you've seen, will rally. The bad politicians, the evil politicians who are benefiting from all this, they're going to rally behind and start screaming racism and Islamophobe and all that. But we have to get these people who are, I mean, this can't continue.
I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but...
I mean, okay, wouldn't it be easier... Instead of them importing votes, wouldn't it be easier just to give white people millions of dollars and have them vote for them and leave the other part out of it? Like the whole importation part that you claim is happening?
But do you think they'll get a point to where, say, a federal agent comes into a place like Cedar Riverside and they start going out through deportations, and then the gangs, we know there's rival gangs inside of these complexes where arms are eventually brought up and people start dying and shooting?
Yes. Yes. And so right now, the Minneapolis police are scared to death of doing anything to offend the Somali community. When you have the police chief in Minneapolis coming out and saying they're our neighbors, they're part of our society, and if you see ICE, call 911, specifically said it to the Somalis. I mean, what is the message that sends that we're invincible, we can do whatever we want, Minnesota's ours?
And so you've gotten to the point where the federal government, state government...
The ICE is fucked up and people should be leery of them?
...are in a battle because the state government wants to protect the Somalians, while meanwhile the federal government wants to actually implement the law of the land, because federal law is more important and has more power than local and state law.
Well, this is the importance of where the money came from for this fraud, because there are federal dollars that are mixed in, and that brings into play the supremacy clause, where the federal government could come into the state and say, we can come in here and we can do whatever we want, we can do our investigation because you used federal dollars that we sent you and you sent it out fraudulently.
Who knows? It's like a ticking time bomb here inside of Minnesota. Either it's going to continue ticking or a bomb's going to go off, metaphorically speaking.
And so all I know is that, I mean, if they take me out, because they've tried essentially twice now, if they take me out, at least I know I fought the fight, I did what was right, and I can go in peace.
So you really feel like they might try to kill you?
Yes.
Really?
They pulled a knife on me 2 weeks ago.
And so you're fearful for your life. Melissa Hortman, she was...
Oh, now we got to get into... Tim Walz had Melissa Hortman killed as well.
Speak against illegal migrants. Do you think that was a setup?
Well...
That job?
It's interesting because the person who shot her was a former hire of Governor Tim Walz. And so why did he target her? Because you're right, she was starting to speak out about immigration. She's a Democrat. And so it was very taboo what she was doing. It's like a Somali talking to a reporter. You don't do it.
So you think she was killed for that reason?
it's possible it played a role in it.
Because if you look at it, she was starting to speak out against what's happening here in Minnesota with the illegal migrants, and then a man appears to her door and kills her and her husband. And that guy was a former hire of Tim Walz.
Yes.
This fraud had not been exposed until it started to get exposed, and then you saw Tim Walz literally say that he knew about it. He should have said something. Essentially, those weren't exactly his words, but he knew about the fraud happening, and this lady was killed by a Tim Walz hire.
So the answer to what's going to happen here in Minnesota is going to be determined in the next gubernatorial election, because Tim Walz is running for a third term, and if the people of Minnesota elect him to a third term, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, because that will signal the end of Minnesota, literally.
And it'll signal the end of your protection as well, because this will just continue to go.
I mean, for God's sakes, I was in front of the governor's mansion and I was attacked by 3 Somalis. They had 100 cameras and nobody came out. They have a security detail at the governor's mansion. Nobody came out. I was on 911 and it took the police 11 minutes to get there. We have the faces of the assailants, their vehicle, and their license plate on the camera footage. And I just today now requested, because I haven't heard from the St. Paul Police Department, I requested the camera footage from the governor's mansion, the police report, and the 911 transcript.
And do you think born and raised Minnesotans are going to be able to outvote the Somali population here?
So my concern is that it used to be just in Minneapolis, and then it went to St. Cloud, and now it's in Rochester, it's in Owatonna, they're heading up to Duluth. And so it used to be your only concern was how are they going to vote in the city here? Because once you get outside the Twin Cities, it gets pretty conservative out there. I mean, they're not happy about what's going on, and all these wishy-washy politicians, most of them are from the Twin Cities here. And I don't know, but it can't continue. It has to change.
And is there any last message you'd like to give to the people about the fraud?
Look, this fraud has spread now. We've heard about it in Massachusetts. We heard about it in California. This is ground zero for the fraud. And what I'm telling you is you can't sit around and say, that's terrible. Somebody's got to do something about this. You have to do something like I've been doing it here. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be the one to make the change. You can't sit around and wait for somebody else to do it, because it's not going to get done.
Well, God bless you, and thank you for your time, and thank you for the work you've done.
Thank you, Nick.
Fraud.
Thank you for your time.
That's how we get to the end of it. That's how we get to the end of it. That they're going to kill him. Tim Walz has to be taken out because he took out Melissa Hortman, and we don't know how long that our man here is going to survive. We exposed Tim Walz' billion-dollar fraud scheme. He knows exactly what he's doing. Somebody asked about the comments. Besides mine, they're generally pro Nick Shirley. This isn't just a Minnesota problem, it's an American problem. Still can't believe how CNN went after Nick instead of the blatant fraud itself. David has been waiting for this day for years, and he deserves it 100%. They call him a Nazi and Islamophobe. They don't call him a liar. This is well beyond fraud. It's criminal enterprise. Protect this kid under any circumstances. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. I'm paying over $50K in taxes alone this year. This makes me want to scream. David risked everything, including his family relationships, to expose horrible fraud. He deserves a medal. If we can arrest a president of another country, we should be able to arrest our own corrupt politicians. This is what a reporter used to be. Excellent. The fraud around... Listen, I had to look up a statistic to call somebody out on Facebook today. 54% of people. I'm not talking about comprehension. Right? What is comprehension? That's being able to read something and understand what you read. There's plenty of people that can read something, but they can't. If you say, okay, you read that paragraph, what was in it? What was the overall theme of the paragraph? What was the message trying to be conveyed? That's comprehension. I'm not talking about comprehension. I'm talking about being able to read the words. 54% of U.S. adults read below a 6th grade level. %54 of U.S. adults read below a 6th grade level. This is the slop they consume. They're not going to challenge it. They're not going to ask about it. They're not going to look into it further. Someone on the internet said something that I agree with. It's true. And I will fight with you on social media until I die behind that keyboard defending it without looking into it at all. I don't need to look it up. Somebody on the internet told me it, and it fits my narrative and what my president already wants me to believe. Right? I'm going to make a funny post saying, I'm broke, so I'm going to start a daycare. Haha, I'll be a millionaire. we're living with retards that believe, like, if this was a video that went like the left, like the way of the left, they'd outright deny it immediately. But because it fits their narrative that they already want to believe, they believe it. That's it. It's over. It's said, done with. I won't convince them. You won't convince them. A federal investigation won't convince them. They'll just say they hid it or they couldn't find them or they didn't do a good job or Pam Bondi's in on it or whatever. The state won't convince them. It doesn't matter now. The news doesn't convince them. The news agency showing up and showing kids with blurred faces doesn't convince them they were bussed in. We're cooked. It's done. It's over with. And that's what I'm here to tell you tonight. We're cooked, chat. Thank you guys for joining us. Support the show. If you want a sane voice of reason within this sphere of influencers, I'm not part of the 54%. That's all I can say. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Support the show to keep me on air. I'm trying to bring truth to retards. And if that's a project you can get behind, here's the link. Donate, pay the bills. We'll do it for another month. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to
Mariah's to the point she wants to move out of the country.
don't have the
I don't know. I don't know what to do, bro. I don't know.
this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the force.
We just have to move somewhere that a dollar stretches further. And I have to come back home every 90 days, so.
Started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the places and bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Oh, thank you very much. I just changed the screen or it would have popped up. Jaybird with 10 six-packs. Probably one of my last, but I'm happy you and more have seen the truth. Thank you for the outlet. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for the donation. I appreciate that.
Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshiping drums, cocking, begging for a throat.
So to keep my VA payments, I have to come back to the country every 90 days and stay for like a week. I have a buddy who moved to Panama, and that's the way he's got to do it. He can't become a citizen somewhere. He's still got to be a U.S. citizen, and every 90 days he has to come back. He comes back to the United States and stays for 4, 5, 6 days, and does his hospital visits or doctor visits or whatever.
You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing.
But fuck, the places that I would be willing to leave, I think it's probably a higher cost of living, to be honest with you.
You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't.
And if they ever check my social media, they're not letting me back in willingly. Kicking and screaming, maybe. I'll be the next Maduro. You guys see we move somewhere. And then the U.S. mounts an operation to come retrieve me. Maybe, Marita. I don't know. I know he comes back for like a week, but I have not looked into it. I don't know what the rules are.
Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Fucking stop. Dude, come on.
Atsuko's trying to put me in her Chinese rice dungeon.
Give me oh my God. Damn it.
That's what I'm saying. We start our own little sovereign area, and we're just nice to people and help each other out.
You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
There's something I need to fix. Hold on a second.
Placing them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking, he was doing so well. It's all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They rework and copy on cocks that came first. 9th inning, 2nd string, and they acting like they know hitters. Ass on slow and bullshit, sending runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience, it's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby-eating heathens. Believing in reason with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
You don't have those guts, cause you're a pussy.
Good night, guys.
You're a pussy wearing aviator glasses in your mother's basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle, because that's really pathetic.
So now's the time to move.